Hello and welcome everybody to today's installment of the incredible adventures of the unsinkable Alice Baker, the fourth installment. We're still trying to solve the problem that is 1206 Spooner, a probably very likely haunted mansion somewhere in New York City in the 1920s. And last time I nearly killed Alice. And she is now in hospital recovering from a very, very bad gunshot wound, which did hit her leg and has now definitely impaired her and impacted her permanently. And she is now, and Dottie is waiting in the wings to get a really lovely wheelchair and to take her back home to, and possibly never let her out of the house again because something terrible might happen to her. You know, when you go outside, things can happen. And of course, Holy Mother Church has been visited several times, and all of the saints have been made offerings to ensure a speedy recovery. And let's take a look at the hospital bed where Alice is sitting up. She has managed to persuade them that porridge is not the right food. So you're getting tea and toast.
That is amazing. I guess her spirits are lifted quite a bit already with that. Because that is more what she likes to eat. So that definitely. The other thing, probably too early, but still Alice would try to train to move again, because she definitely does not want to leave in a wheelchair. She will walk on her two own feet. So as I said, quite early, maybe even getting some not so nice words from the staff, is really trying to walk around again and to move and to anything that can do, because one leg is still fine. So she will try and just be like, I will do this. I will be mobile again. I don't need a wheelchair. But obviously when Dottie is there, she will be the good patient. Not to make Dottie angry, because she knows better.
You wouldn't like her when she's angry.
Oh no, I'm quite sure I made her angry one or two times and learned my lesson that an angry Dottie is not someone you want to face.
No, she tends to burn the toast then.
That's best case scenario.
Okay, so you are trying to get mobile. So how are you going to do this?
First of all, probably in bed trying to just lift legs. That would be the first thing, just to make sure moving feet and toes and feet. Oh my goodness, I'm very sorry for a native English speaker. My feet, without this. And probably also when I feel a bit stronger, and I guess now with toast I feel stronger definitely, she will try from time to time to carefully get out of bed. So like swinging her legs down, first of all probably standing on the leg that is still good, and then carefully in the beginning probably more hopping around, but really trying to get some kind of moving, but using the cane, because I'm quite sure it stays by her side. So first of all, just a tiny bit, and then extending it a bit more, but she will do it in her room. And she will try not to let the staff see it too much, although I'm quite sure from time to time the staff basically just surprise her, like seeing her walking around.
Okay, tell us a little bit about your cane.
It's quite slim, but really, really nicely worked. It's cedar wood with a really, really nice rounded handle on top. And with a twist you can just pull it out, and it's a really long, slim well-made blade, which in the hospital she doesn't have to use. So at least I think from time to time she will be like just sitting on her bed, probably like pulling it out, just like, ha, I will get you. But generally she will focus more to use the cane properly for walking. And I think if it goes better and better, to also not look too horrible while walking, because she is a bit vain. She still likes to look nice, and she needs to make sure that with this cane she's not like the trotting. She will try to be still elegant, so that will take time. I'm sure it doesn't look elegant in the beginning at all.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's going to take time, but you do believe that you will adapt. But of course, in the beginning, there are some kind of like near misses where you maybe even forget that you should be using the cane and you put the weight on the wrong leg, and pain wise, they have taken you off the morphine, which for the first couple of days was kind of because obviously you have become addicted, which is something that happens normally. But it's getting better, and you're now taking aspirin, well, or the whatever aspirin was called back in the day, because it's been around for a very long time. And so, yeah, and it's getting to the time that Dottie will show up and will pick you up to take you home. And there's a knock on the door.
Come in.
And the door opens, and it's Dottie. Well, madam, how are you doing today?
Quite well. How are you doing? You look like sunshine.
Yes, indeed. It's, yeah, because you're coming home. I mean, that was, to be quite honest with you, I really don't like hospitals, and I don't like coming here, even if it's visiting you. So I'm very glad that I will not have to make the trip ever again, because this is the first and last time that you have been shot at. You will not leave the house. You will be doing everything from this from the sofa. I have had an extension lead put into the phone, so we can now place it next to the sofa, so it's no longer just outside in the hallway. Everything you need can be delivered.
My dear, you know I'm not a person to be stuck inside. I love the phone thing. Very well thought. That will make life much more comfortable. But I need fresh air and being
Certainly,
outside.
dear. Fresh air will not be a
can't
problem at all. I've got
be-
this really lovely wheelchair, and in this you can basically parade down and up the road.
Well, let's just get my stuff ready. If you would be lovely and get my stuff. I guess she would have her clothes already ready because she knows she's leaving, but her like a bag with some extra clothes is just on the other side. So her main idea is basically
She
when
packs the
Dottie
bag.
goes over, she would just carefully stand up, go over to her clothes, just throw over what she has to throw over, and would stand basically waiting for Dottie to be ready and to be gone.
Yeah, so she packs the suitcase, she takes the suitcase, she opens the door, places the suitcase outside, comes back in with a wheelchair, and asks you to sit down in it. And when you basically seem reluctant, she actually says hospital policy.
Dottie, I can walk. I don't
Hospital
need
policy.
that.
Do you want me to call the nurse?
I'm very tempted to ask the nurse if this is really hospital policy.
Nurse Houlihan! And she doesn't even try to be quiet. So in comes an Irish nurse, probably aged between 60 and 115. And says, yes, my dear. And she turns around and said, remember how we were talking about this one and the wheelchair? Yes, of course I do remember. So she's not wanting to sit down, is she? No. Could you explain about the hospital policy, please? Well, my dear, it is hospital policy Because we cannot really let you slip or fall while you're on our grounds. So please sit in the wheelchair. You can get out as soon as you leave the grounds, but until such time, we will wheel you out. You can either let Miss Dottie here do it, or I will do it myself.
Grumpy face Alice will grab her bag, sit down, having basically the bag on top of her lap, the walking cane in her hand, and be like, Dottie, but only until just up to the front door. As soon as we are out, I'm getting out of this thing.
Well, I've got a cab waiting already, and I'm pretty sure you can walk to the cab.
I definitely can.
Good. And, yeah, make a spot hidden check.
Ooh, why am I rolling so well for stuff like this? I rolled a 7.
That's a hard
which
success,
is
a
a critical success.
If this was the 2000s, the two of them would be high-fiving each other. They are exchanging looks which pretty much say, yes, we knew this was going to happen, we had a plan, and we won.
I was afraid so.
Yeah. So she wheels you out, and there is a lift, and the lift takes you downstairs, and you go through the foyer, which you are being wheeled through the foyer. You can't even remember the foyer because you haven't been down here yet. And indeed, there is a cab waiting there, and she puts on the brakes, takes the bag off you, and says, I'll just put the bag into the cab first. And she opens the door at the back door, puts in the... So she goes around.
The moment she leaves me, I will stand up.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, I'm not surprised. So basically, she walks around the car to the far side of the car, opens the door, puts the bag inside, closes the door, looks over the car, sees you getting up, and smiles so widely that you see all of her 36 teeth almost.
Good. I will just smile and would be like, do we need to return the wheelchair?
I will do this. How about you just go and sit down in the car, madam?
I will do so. And she will
But
just...
I will get the door for you. So she does walk around again. I don't know how quick you are, if you want to get the door yourself, or if you let her open the door for you. I'll leave
Those
that
are
up to you.
things not worth fighting against, Dottie. Let her open the door.
She opens the door and says, and she says to the driver, I'll just take back the wheelchair. Please make Ms. Baker comfortable. And then she turns around and leaves you to your own devices.
Perfect. Alice will just walk towards the cab, probably still not as smoothly and relaxed as she would like to, but she will fight her way through it. And would climb into the car and would pull the door closed, basically close the door, and would be just like, you don't have to make me comfortable, thank you. She's a bit worried, but we'll just wait for her and then back home.
Whatever you say, miss. And he ignores you completely after that.
That's perfect.
And just a couple of minutes later, maybe 5 minutes later, Dottie returns and she sits next to the driver and she gives the address and says, then she turns around and says, do you need to make any stops on the way, or would you like to go straight home?
Let's first of all get home, drop the stuff, and make a plan what is next to be done, because I definitely need to talk to a few people, and we need to definitely visit Lizzie.
Sorry, visit who?
Lizzie? Was it Liz? Lizzie?
Oh, Lizzie. I couldn't hear it. Acoustically, it just didn't make it through. Okay, Lizzie. Yes, the seventh daughter of the seventh daughter. No, that's Sinead Murphy. Who's Lizzie again?
Lizzie was the one who had
Liz.
the
Yes,
store.
Lizzie is the antiques dealer.
Yeah, exactly. That was the word I was missing. Antiques dealer.
Yeah, she's the antiques dealer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I forgot the other girl. Might be helpful as well.
Yeah, Sinead Murphy. She's the seventh daughter of the seventh daughter of a seventh daughter. So at least that's what she says.
See.
And you arrive not not too much later at home, she gets up out of the car, walks around, gets the bag, closes the door, comes around to your door, opens the door, and says, are you okay getting out? Because it is kind of like you are quite low down compared to the pavement. So she says, are you okay getting out, or would you like me to give you my arm for a second?
I'm quite sure I will make it, and she will try to get out of the cab on her own.
Yeah. Then try and make a dexterity roll with a penalty die.
So the lower.
Yeah, so you have
The
45
10,
at the
basically.
moment. The 100 is the lower one, yeah.
Yeah. You will not believe what I just rolled.
A 1?
For the lowest, a 9, and 2 times 0, 0.
Wow!
Oh my goodness.
That is, I mean, I'm really
dice.
sorry that you're wasting all of these good
Yes,
good rolls.
I'm worried about what will come, because it's
Yeah.
like, ta-da! I'm getting out of there without problems.
You are getting out of there as if there was nothing wrong. It's unbelievable. I mean, you're completely steady on your 2 feet. There is no hesitation in the motion. It's incredible. You look like, like there is nothing wrong with you. And you can tell that Dottie is very impressed. She's like, when you said you were training, I didn't expect this, but you must have been training like crazy.
Well, mind over matter, isn't it the word? So I want to do something, so I will make it happen.
Yes.
Dottie, that's always a thing. Set your mind on something you want to achieve, and you will achieve it. Just work hard for it, and it will be just perfectly fine. Come on, let's get inside and make a plan.
You're not a Methodist by any chance, are you?
No, dear.
Good. And she, and then she basically pays the driver, closes the door behind you after you've taken a few steps so that she doesn't hit you with the door, of course. And then she says, but I will go ahead and open the door for you because it is quite heavy. And yes, it is a really heavy front door, so it does make sense for someone.
That is totally fine. As long as I'm not bound to just sit around, Alice will make her have those little things that make life easier.
So she goes on ahead. She takes the four steps that lead to the front door. So it's a multi-story house, and basically there's 4 steps that lead to the kind of like the landing where the main entrance door is. And she unlocks the door, opens it, and stands aside and holds it, and waits for you to walk in.
I will.
And you can tell that she is really fighting the urge to lend you a hand. She's literally, if she was sitting, she would be sitting on her hands. So she's basically clasping them behind her back.
Alice will recognize it with more like an inner smile and will just move on quite proudly on no.
And she
inside.
then closes the door, locks it from the inside, as she's wont to do when she knows that you're not going to go out. It does have a doorknob outside, so it's not like one of the doors that you can open easily without a key, but it's just what she does. And then she says, all right, so then in you go, and she lets you walk ahead in front of her.
Dear, if you would like to drop my bag just in my
Yeah, I'm going to
bedroom.
take it to your bedroom. Well, actually, I think I'm just going to drop it into the laundry room, and she goes to the laundry room because there is no
Definitely.
point really in bringing it upstairs because it needs to be washed anyway.
Then laundry room is good. Alice will move over to probably the kitchen,
Yeah.
and we'll see if she can make herself something nice to eat, like a sandwich, or I don't know, anything that is not toast or porridge.
Well, you open the ice box. Mm-hmm. And it contains all of the goodies and all of the things that you like.
Happy
in
relieved
fact, you
sigh.
could probably feed 10 Alices with the food that's in there.
Alice will be just, again, very grateful for Dottie, and will be just even more happy, not even being home, but also with this, and will just put something together. As I said, I think something hearty, something, I don't know if it's like a sandwich or so, but really. So when Dottie comes back, Alice is probably in the kitchen, just in the middle of things and preparing something.
She does come back and she says, that's very good. So we've got two options for dinner. I can either make us something or I can get us something. It's your choice. If I am going to make something, you have the choice between pancakes with maple syrup and ice cream, or a traditional Irish pot roast.
How can I say no to both of that?
So you want the pot roast first and then the pancakes.
Well, the
as a
pancakes
dessert.
we might just do tomorrow.
Okay, well, in that case, that's fine. Then I'm going to get the roast started while you sit down in the living room next to the new phone, and then we can start making plans, because that roast is going to take a good while.
Perfect. Then,
And she basically shoos you out of the kitchen as if you as if you weren't hurt, and she says, "Yeah, and take your food with you."
Yeah, but I need to clean up the rest.
Yeah, whatever. I need space. I need space, madam. I need space. I have
She
been on
will-
my own for the last 2 weeks, and it's been perfect.
Should I be worried that you don't like to live with me anymore?
No,
and you
not
want
at
your
all,
own
not
place?
at all. But I did notice that the kitchen is so much bigger when it's only just me.
That is quite true. She would basically hold the plate and would carefully walk over.
And you actually
sit down.
manage to, I mean, you do know how to walk. When you walk slowly, you can walk without the cane. It's more like, and especially when you're like inside, because
I
then
have
the
walls
ground
and
is
things,
even and you
and
know,
I can hold on to stuff if I need to, and so on. Yeah.
You enter the living room and you see that she has bought several flower bouquets of flowers that you really love. And it looks, I mean, there is no doubt that she's really glad that you're home. It looks amazing. She has outdone herself. There is, on the little table where she's placed the phone, there's also a little crystal bowl full of sweets that you like, chocolates. And she has also placed a bottle of brandy in easy reach, within easy reach of the sofa, so that should you feel like having some brandy, it's right there. So she has obviously given it a lot of thought. And you hear her pottering about in the kitchen, doing kitchen stuff. And you know that it's probably going to take her about 45 minutes to an hour to make everything happen the way she wants it to happen, and then put the roast into the oven and just set it to like 6 hours from now, because she does a slow roast thing from the old country. And well, you can do whatever you like in the meantime.
She would first of all enjoy the food. She would then pour in some brandy, because that is also something she didn't have for quite a while. And she deserves. It's not much, really, just more for the taste. Just like the feeling of, I'm back home, everything is slowly getting back to normal.
Yeah.
And then she would probably give the first boutique store we were in. The first one, the second one, I think the first one. She would give a call.
Yes.
I will have to double check where the name is. I wrote it down, but I'm not sure where. If I wrote it down.
Mr. Thornton was number one. That was the first tailor. The second one was Cesar.
Cesar. No, she would call Cesar. That's much more fun.
Okay, you call
She would call Cesar. And she would just ask if he could organize, or if he has any nice, like, coats. Not too heavy coats, but really pretty coats in a very low-key color. So not colorful and bright, more like a brown or gray or black.
I have electric blue.
That sounds nice for me, but too colorful for her.
Eggshell black.
That might be something. Anything brown?
I'm thinking brown is so last year.
But a lot of people like the color.
That is true, and I do have some brown coats as well. How long?
Well, about... I'm just thinking about, in German, how it's translated to English. The lower half are the calves, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Okay, so like at least half the calves. Not too long, because it will get dirty, but definitely appropriately long. Better more than appropriately long.
And what about the cut? Do you want it to be cut to your figure? Do you want it to be a little bit looser in the
Bit
leg?
looser, and it's not for me. It's for my dear Dottie.
Okay.
So I'm just I could imagine that anyhow he would have the measurements of Dottie as well, because I'm
Yes,
quite
he
sure from
does.
time to time Alice would have organized some clothes for Dottie,
Yeah.
just in case like we have also a big party at my house, or
Yeah.
she's with me. So it's for Dottie, and she doesn't like if it's too tight and too like prominent on the female figure. So
Oh, oh, of course, of course, of course. Yes. Would kind of like a dark green do as well? Because, I mean, she does like to wear brown, but I mean, wearing a brown coat over a brown dress.
that is green would look very nice on her. I
I've
love
got a
that idea.
really lovely dark bottle green.
Let's do that. I think it
What
will take
I-
her a bit of try, but it will look amazing on her.
What I will do is, does she want to come in and try them out, or is this kind of like like a surprise? And should I just have them delivered and she can try them out in the comfort of her own home?
You understand me well. It's a surprise. It's a bit of a thank you to her and all her amazing work she's doing. Because
So
I would be lost without her.
here's what I'll
Dead,
do.
probably.
Yes, we're always lost without the special someone who knows what we need when we need it. What I will do is I will get out two models, one in black and one in bottle green. They are slightly different, but the length would be what you are looking for.
Perfect.
And I will send them over, and you will have them by tomorrow, and then you can take the rest of the week to just, for her to try them out in the comfort of her home, even walking around in them, maybe trying out different clothes under them to see how she feels, and then we can even loosen them out around the shoulders or whatever she needs. And yeah, and then she will have to come in, though, that we can, if we need to put any final touches on it, then she'll have to come in. But if they are fine as they are, or if it is fine as it is, then she can, of course, just return the one model that she doesn't want. How does that sound, Ms.
That
Baker?
sounds so perfect, Caesar. I'm so glad I can count on you on this.
Not a problem at all. And you can hear him scribble away, and he says, "Is there anything else that I can do for you today?"
That is all I have at the moment. So
Very well.
thank you so much, and have a lovely, successful day.
And you too. And you too. And he
And-
hangs up.
Yep, hanging up. And then she would just lean back happily, and the whole time she would have kept her voice a bit lower, hoping that Dottie, who has ears like, I don't know, what animal can hear very good? Cat?
Yeah, they can hear quite well. Yeah, or dogs. Yeah.
She's quite sure it could even be that Dottie still understood what she said, but at least
Well,
give it a try and
you,
hope.
you do hear that she's kind of like
She's busy in the
pottering away
kitchen?
in the kitchen, and the kitchen door is closed. So chances are that she's not. Well, I mean, it could be that. Do you want me to roll?
Yeah, let her roll, although I think she would go along with the show even if she heard
Well, I mean,
it.
she does. She does get a.
Penalty?
One of those penalty dice, because she is in a different room and she is not being quiet herself. She isn't even listening. I don't need a d20. Why do they suddenly pop into my hand like crazy? That's a 93. She hears nothing.
Thank you, Di, for just making it
She'll
short.
probably start
sound.
singing the Fields of Athenry in about 5 seconds, and you really hate when she does that because the song is terrible.
Well, whatever makes her happy, and the cooking even better than it already is, because it's amazing.
Yeah. Okay, so after a while, she comes back out, and she says, "So, we will be having dinner in 6 hours and 10 minutes exactly. I will have to do everything else about 1 hour before we have dinner, or 1 hour and 10 minutes, so we have 5 hours in which we don't have to worry about the food. So, plans," and she gets out her notepad and her pencil.
Well, we definitely have to talk to Liz, and not only talk to her, I want to check out what she has in store. And as I said, I would like the idea of maybe buying a tiny thing of that stuff and see if we can burn it, just to be curious, because I want to pay for things before I burn it. I would feel horrible just taking it and just like, oops, sorry. That's not what Liz deserves.
No, and it would be quite awkward too if we had to explain why you're in her shop and start putting fire to things.
Well, honestly, I'm quite sure she has the feeling that these things are kind of haunted or bringing bad luck or anything like that, since they can't be sold, so we will see.
Probably, yes, but still.
She also
If they have really bad luck or haunted, and trying to set them on fire might actually make something else go up in flames, that could be quite dangerous. So we should buy it and take it away into a safe space.
That is my main idea. We will take it somewhere where we can burn it without setting anything else on flame that is next to it. And she also had a piano. Did I remember that right, dear?
Yes, indeed. And she claims that one time when she was on her own,
That
somebody
she heard
played
someone.
it. But
I would at least maybe like to give it like a ping and see if something reacts or not, just to be curious. Because honestly, after all we've seen and went through, a piano playing by itself sounds quite nice, I have to say. Honestly, I hope it's not. I really hope it's not.
Do you know what I'm most afraid of? That
What?
she might have mirrors.
That is something. We should then be careful.
Honestly, I think if she does have mirrors, we should ask her to cover them.
I think that would be good, although it's a question if that thing is bound to the house. Mirrors in other houses should be totally fine.
No, I mean if she has a mirror that used to be in the house.
Oh, yes, yes. Oh, God. That would be the first thing to buy and destroy immediately.
Yes, because we know that the mirrors can be destroyed.
Yeah, that
We
works.
don't know what it does to the entity, but we do know that we can destroy the mirrors.
At least she wasn't happy about it, I have to say.
No, she wasn't.
That would be the one thing to do. And then I would be curious to talk to... You remember the girl you said? What was her name? The seventh mother?
Sinead.
No, daughter.
Sinead. The seventh daughter of a seventh daughter.
I will never get that straight. We should maybe talk to her just curiously what she knows about ghosts and ghosts being able to possess someone, if she knows anything about it.
I'm pretty sure she does, and she'll probably not stop talking if we ask her, do you know anything about it? I think, she likes to talk.
Then we should plan in some time, because I would be open. Would your friend like to have dinner with us, maybe? Because I know you cooked more than we both could eat. And
she smiles slightly.
Everyone should be blessed.
Say that?
It would be blessed tasting your food and just having that. And we could just sit together, have dinner in peace and quiet. We could talk about stuff like that.
That is a really good idea. Do you want me to give her a ring and see if she's free tonight?
That would be perfect, dear.
She takes the phone, and interestingly enough, Well, I mean, there are no phone numbers, but she basically just, lets herself be connected by the switchboard. And
Yeah.
Sinead Murphy seems to have a phone, which is quite amazing because not that many people have it, and it is quite expensive.
Yeah.
And you hear Dottie say, "Hi, Sinead, it's me, Dottie. Remember how we were talking about something weird happening and we need an exorcism and stuff? How about you come by tonight and have dinner and we discuss things and bring whatever you have that relates to ghosts that might help. Information, books. What do you mean there are no books? Oh, you just use the Bible. Then bring a Bible. Because I don't have one." You hear from the other end, "What do you mean you don't have a Bible?"
She definitely. I'm quite sure Alice has a Bible herself as well, just for at least it should
But
be
you're
in a
shocked.
household.
Dottie, Catholic Dottie does not have a Bible.
She definitely must have a Bible. She will just let Dottie do her thing and wait until she hangs up.
And so yes, no, and she looks at her watch, in 6 hours and 50 minutes, in 5 hours and 50 minutes. Yes. No. 5 hours and 50 minutes. Yes. Pot roast. Of course, with potatoes. What do you mean?
We can pay the cab for her when she gets here. She shouldn't worry about that.
Yes, you can take a cab. Yes. Yes, the address is... And she gives you address.
Mm-hmm.
You just ring the bell and I'll let you in. Yes, we will take care of that. Okay, then I'll see you later. Okay, bye, bye. And she hangs up and she says, "Nobody's going to touch my granny's Bible to do some exorcism with it."
Thank good. Well, first of all, I don't want to do exorcism today. Today
Well,
is
especially not in this house. What are we going
and
to
not in this.
exercise here?
Exactly. We would need to go to the house. I'm not sure I want. Yeah,
I'm
ever want to
afraid
set
that
foot
she
in.
might actually want to go there straight away. So we will have to kind of like dissuade her from doing this.
The thing is, I would not like to tell her about which house we are talking about. I would just
Very
accept you already told her.
No, I didn't give her the address. She doesn't
Then
know the
we are
name
just
of the house
talking
now.
about a house in the city. There are a lot of houses in the city. She will have problems finding the right one. And we can describe a few things if we have to, but we just keep out where the house is located and also which part of the city is located. Because she doesn't need to know, at least not to answer our questions.
Yes, that's a good point. So maybe you could ring Elizabeth to make an appointment to view the items.
That is definitely the next thing to do. And let's just see if she has time today or tomorrow. But
Well, I think maybe today is already quite full because you've just been released from hospital.
but we still have around 5-ish hours.
Yes, but I mean, I do need to get back to finish the food, and also we need to, I mean, I don't want to leave the pot roast on its own. You know, what if we are delayed and what if it burns up? No, I think today we should be making plans, and tomorrow is another day when we can go out and do things.
Okay. Then first of all, let me call Lizzie and make an appointment then for tomorrow morning. Basically, as early as possible is probably early. As best as possible, and she would just grab the phone and ask to be connected to Liz's antiquity store.
And she answers yes.
Alice Baker here. Liz, my dear.
Ms. Baker, what can I do for you?
First of all, thank you so much for the wonderful cane. It's stunningly beautiful. It's
I'm glad you
perfect.
like it. I'm glad you like it.
It's just, I wouldn't know what to do without it, so it's really a blessing and making life much more easier. Also makes me feel a bit safer with, you know, what it has inside.
You can almost hear her smile through the phone.
Dottie told me not you, but you have a few things from the Spooner house.
Indeed, we have several items. Well, I mean, I have them in my possession, but I did not acquire them. That would have been my father and my grandfather over the last, to be quite precise, some of them are 60 years old. We have not been able to sell them. It's almost like people walk into the shop and they just disappear. I mean, not the people, but the things. It's like they don't see them.
Well, I want to buy one thing for sure. Something not too big. Best out of wood. If there's something in the midst of it.
Not a big best made out of wood.
There's something like a box or a comb.
There is a mahogany fruit bowl. It's actually quite a nice centerpiece for a table, but like I said, nobody will look at it.
Well, I will at least give it a try because I'm really curious how this is working. So the bowl sounds quite perfect. I would also be curious, is there by any chance a mirror in the stack of things?
Let's see. Does being lucky mean there is one or there isn't one?
That is your decision. Honestly, probably it's lucky if she doesn't have a mirror. I think in this case, since the mirrors are definitely not a good thing, I think it's
Then
safer
you are
and
out
better.
of luck because she rolled a 72, and that's definitely beyond Dottie's luck roll. So she does have a mirror.
She does have a mirror.
Yes, it's a really beautiful mirror with a gilded frame. It's one of those stand-up mirrors. It's almost full length. A lady that isn't too tall could easily stand in front of it and see herself.
Is it wrapped up in cloth just to make sure that it's well preserved?
It's standing 2 meters away from me, and no, it's not wrapped in cloth. I use it as a centerpiece for my shop.
Oh. So I definitely want to buy the mirror. And it would be really, really lovely if you could just wrap it up in cloth immediately. I know it sounds weird, but just trust me, it might be a good thing to do. And
Well,
then
I mean,
just
if you're
leave
going
it
to
in the
buy it,
corner.
then of course I will do it straight away, because obviously you don't want to damage your goods. I will do this as soon as we ring off.
And please be careful.
Of course, I've been handling antiques all my life,
No,
and I'm literally mean that.
I honestly am not so much worried about the mirror than about you, because I still wanna... Well, is it okay if I come in tomorrow morning when you open?
Of course, I'm open as of 9:30.
Then we'll come probably around 10 o'clock. We will be there.
Of course.
And just put basically the bowl and the mirror aside, and we'll bring the money. Then I will see you tomorrow morning.
I will see you tomorrow morning, Miss Baker.
Have a
And
nice
everything
rest of
will
the
be
day.
ready, and I will wrap the mirror straight away, and I will also wrap the bowl so that nothing happens to it while it's waiting for you here.
Thank you very much.
I will see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. She would
Bye.
hang up. Take a deep breath. Probably Dottie saw the worried look the moment she heard there is a mirror. Okay, so we are buying 2 things, Dottie. And the one thing we will destroy the second we leave the building.
You mean we drop the mirror?
I am even tempted to drop it in the store immediately. We will still pay it because it will not be her damage because we let it drop, but this has to go. It's a centerpiece of the store. That doesn't sound good. Might be paranoid, but better careful.
Who knows? Maybe she's been a really unlucky person. Maybe we should inquire how her father died.
That is a good question for tomorrow. So we will be there around 10ish. I think just
That's
after
not a problem
breakfast.
at all. Very good.
The other thing, did you hear anything from the sergeant?
Like I said, I mean, he didn't take too well to shooting you, and that was a good thing, or else I would have smacked him again. And he really isn't happy about losing this photographer, because he now talks about him being dead, and I'm afraid that he's probably right.
I'm honestly sure that the photographer is dead.
Yeah, he's not doing so well.
Do you know how we can reach him?
Well, he's in his office, I suppose. It's only 12 o'clock.
Then let's give him a short call.
You ring the number.
Yep. Oh god, what was his name? Sergeant. Let me look. I have it here. Too many people in such short time. Where's the sergeant? No, that is the coroner.
Sergeant Updike.
Updike. Ronald. Ronald. Yeah, she would give the sergeant a call.
Sergeant Updike.
Alice Baker here.
Oh, Miss Baker. How are you doing? Are you well?
I am very well because I'm back home on my
That's
own 2
fantastic.
feet.
That's so great.
Dottie is taking too much care for me and feeding me well, so that is good and bad. Well, bad for the figure, good for the soul.
Well, I'm pretty sure that whatever they were feeding you in hospital can't have been that great. I hear it's mainly porridge.
At least I could get them to give me toast. That was a big improvement, I have to say. But hey, at least they did a good job. I'm feeling much better. I can move around. So that is all that is needed. I was just curious about our house we don't want to ever visit again. Do you know if the police did anything on the house? Well, did anyone return there?
No, it's locked up. I mean, unless, excuse me, unless somebody broke in.
I hope not. Why should
Yeah,
they?
me neither.
Okay, so no one was there. And I guess our dear friend Clark did not show up magically.
No, sadly not.
I am really, really sorry.
Well,
that we lost him.
I'm sorry too. I have a hard time explaining it to everyone because it's not every day you lose a photographer.
Especially since he's just missing in action. We
Yeah, and
don't
he's
have a
completely
body.
vanished. I mean, he basically just...
It's not like Arthur where we at least have a body.
Yes.
Okay. I guess you don't want to be involved any further in this story, right? Or should we?
Well, I mean, to be quite honest, if I could get out of it, I would, but I don't think I can. I mean, the thing is, this house is evil.
Yes.
And it needs to be destroyed. The problem that I have is that I looked in my NYPD rule book
Yep.
under houses, comma, haunted. There is no
nothing there.
entry.
I would just be curious, did you or could you by any chance find out who the house belonged to initially? Like around 60 years ago.
Well, I can definitely look at the records. That's not a problem.
That would
They are public record. I mean, everyone can look at them. Especially, for example, I mean, did you not say that the real estate agent was looking into selling it?
Yeah, maybe he knows. I never
And
asked
he would
him.
have full records of ownership going back to the first owner, because whenever a property changes hands, this is all recorded in the registrar's office. So obviously, unless the records were destroyed, which is highly unlikely because the building still stands, there should be full records, and I can obtain them. But you can also ask, wasn't it Smythe?
It was Smythe, yeah. He is on my list to call the next.
He
basically.
would definitely. I would have to go to the office, which I can do. It's not a problem at all. But he must have this information there.
Then I will give him a call, and we will see. We will have a talk with, you know, the Irish thing about the seventh daughter of a seventh.
Indeed, I do.
We will talk to her over dinner about ghosts, hauntings, whatever can be done for or against them. Because I still want to figure out if we can, like, help the trapped... Let's call them souls. I'm still not sure if there's a thing like that, but you get my sense. And other way to figure out if we can rid the house of whatever is in there. I would invite you. I'm not sure if it's appropriate or if you're even interested to join us
For dinner.
and talk over ghosts. I totally understand if you don't want to.
This will not be an official visit. I will not be there as a police officer.
That would be even better.
In that case, yes, I would love to come.
We will have a perfect, wonderfully done stew by my dear Dottie. And as I said just this morning, we will have someone there and the main topic will be ghosts. The only thing I don't want that girl to know is where the house is. So we will keep the address out of it. We will just describe at least a few things that happened. I don't think she needs to understand the full picture.
Oh, because you're afraid she might go there on her own and just try to exorcise that ghost?
Yes, and I don't want anyone near that house at the moment.
So she's like you.
Point taken. True, yes. I guess she would be like me. Well, I'm not a seventh daughter officer. Well,
But you do go to places where you shouldn't be going.
It was just... I just wanted to figure out how he was murdered. I had no clue what was awaiting me. Usually my cases are just about someone
and you joined the
pickpocketed.
NYPD when exactly?
I did not, but as I said, I am a PI, and if someone is in need, I will try to help. And I officially pulled in the police the second I found out valid information.
Point taken, point taken.
Well, I will be happy to have you over as my private guest, Mr. Updike.
Very, very good. Then I will see you tonight.
And you should be here. She would just like Dottie. When in like 4 hours.
Dottie looks at her watch. In 5 hours and 20 minutes. No, 5 hours and 10.
5 hours and 10 minutes. You can be a bit early. Please don't be late. Dottie will be very angry.
She will be hangry.
Dinner will be served. And do you prefer wine with food? More reddish or white?
She looks at you, glares at you, and she says, "You cannot offer white wine with my beef pot roast. It has to be red wine. We've been over this a million times."
Never mind. We will just find something nice to drink with the food. And then see you later. Mr. Updike, have a lovely, calm rest of the day.
And you too, Ms. Baker, and you too. And he chuckles.
And I'll just hang up. So just not to worry you, but Mr. Updike is joining us as well, because he still wants to be on board, weirdly enough, and I thought all the ghost talk might be interesting for him as well. Then we don't have to tell him everything himself.
No, isn't that interesting?
Isn't it?
It means we will just have barely enough food.
We definitely
Where
have
she
enough
basically
food.
has 1 kilogram of meat. So
we definitely have enough food. If not, you just... Worst case, we will do the pancakes for after.
Yeah, well, I think it will be. I think it will be fine. I think I can make this work. Then somebody's at the door.
Okay. Alice is probably and would be like, Dottie, would you like to have a look?
She goes out, of course. She walks. She opens the door. Here's a delivery for Ms. Baker. From Cesar's shop.
He's quick.
He is, isn't he? And she comes
Excited
back
squee from Alice, because she will be all ears open, just like hanging there to listen what it is.
It's so basically she comes back and she, over her arm she has two, which you know are coats draped, but they are basically all, you know how you get them back these days and from the dry cleaners, you know, but it's not a see-through, but it's actually cloth,
yeah, during that time especially, I can imagine.
And she says, "Oh, I didn't realize you ordered clothes, so here you are."
Well, Dottie, could you just open the first one?
She basically puts them on a chair.
Alice is now playing the person I can't move, so please do the work.
And she opens the first one, and out comes an eggshell black coat. Oh, this looks very nice. It's It's a bit long for you.
Would you just mind to put it on? Because I can't look at myself. Just throw it over and let me have a look how it
She
looks.
puts it on, and it actually fits. So yes, he does have her measurements, and her measurements haven't changed since the last time. And she says, "This is very nice, but I still don't see it working for you. It's way too long. I mean, look, it's covering my half of my calves. That would, or is that because of your leg?"
Maybe. Could you just Alice would just sit there and just see, and could you just carefully put it away and try the other one?
She
Because
tries on
Cesar
the other
sent
one.
options as he always does, because he's the best.
This one is indeed bottle green, and it's an interesting cut. So it kind of is cut a little bit, not too tight, not too figure hugging on the torso and shoulders, but it kind of tapers down and then it tapers out again. So and as she turns around, you see that it corners really well. It almost kind of like it's when she makes this swirling motion, it trails after her. It looks really, really nice. It looks a lot. The styles are completely different. The other one is nice too, but this kind of looks different. Um, so yeah, that's the two options that he sent you.
Alice will just lean forward and just smile at. So, what do you think? I think this one is the right one.
Again, it's a bit longish for you.
Well, the
But
question
yeah,
is,
I mean, I like the green. I
then
mean, yes, I was wearing green on St. Patrick's
it's
Day. You could wear this on St. Patrick's Day.
no, you will wear it on St. Patrick's Day. That's the whole idea behind this.
What
Because
do you
you
mean
were
I will?
quite right. It's not for me. It's too long, obviously. But you
It's for
deserve
me.
a special treat for all the thing you did for me and for preparing everything here. You even put the most loved flowers up. All the detail. You
Well,
deserve a little treat,
I
and this
honestly don't know
looks
what to say. I didn't expect that.
marvelous on you.
This is. I mean, I don't know what to say.
Just wear it proudly, and
Oh,
that is all I want to see.
madam. I will wear it really proudly. And she takes it off and she holds it like this, so in front of her, because obviously she hasn't really looked at it because she thought it was for you.
Yep.
And then she says, I would actually like to put it on upstairs and look at myself in the mirror.
Go on, let's do that. And
And she walks upstairs. She walks really quickly, and she's taking her time.
that is perfect. Alice will stand up now and will go over to the other coat, just probably zipping up the bag again. And would just have in mind tomorrow morning when we leave the house anyhow, we will drop it at Cesar and just pay him the direct thank yous, give him a little bit of extra money for the amazing work. And then she would grab the phone while Dottie is upstairs and would just call Mr. Smythe.
Smythe.
Goodness, English is difficult for me today. Baker. Mr.
Miss
Smythe?
Baker, you have been released from the hospital. I always want to say released from prison, but I don't know why this is in my head. You've been
It
released from
felt
hospital.
like prison.
Well, yeah, I can imagine. I mean, I hate hospitals.
I do as well. I'm just very thankful that they patched me up again. And
I hear you got shot
I did.
by a police officer, no less.
Well, it was his gun, let's say it like that. And it was, at least from his point of view, an accident. And from my point of view, kind of. Well, about our special house, about Spooner.
And nobody's been inside. I did what you told me. I didn't go near it. I've got the keys here. So unless, and I understand that the police officer locked it. So unless somebody has broken in, nobody's been inside. I have not even, I mean, I have spoken to the solicitor. I have told him that there are some issues It was easy for me to pull something out of my hat. It was like, foreign national, blah, 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 problems with the paperwork, blah, 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 will be delayed for about 3 months, but it's not going to be a problem. It will be sold eventually. And of course, termites.
Amazing creative work. Thank you so much for that. I think that saved at least someone. The other thing I would be curious about, in the paperwork on the house, can you see who initially built or bought the house?
Of course I can. If you will bear with me for a couple of minutes while I get out the paperwork, and I will be right back.
I will go nowhere. Thank you so much.
You hear how he puts down the receiver, and you hear he gets up, you hear his steps. And then you hear some paper rustling and some stuff moving around, and then he comes back and he picks up the receiver and he says, "Yes, I have got it here. Spooner was built in 1832 by a certain Michael Wheeler. He moved in with his wife,
No name on the wife?
Let me see. I'm not sure why there is no
30. That's 100 years.
Yes, Isabel.
Isabel.
Yes, I've got it right here. Oh dear.
What?
In 1835, she became the sole owner upon his death. And she lived there until 1881. And she died without issue.
Okay.
So, the house was then bought by George and Margaret Crease. They lived, oh my, they lived there until 1884.
1884?
They both died.
Both died?
1884. And died without issue. So the house fell back to the city. It was sold to Michael Doherty.
Wait, just a second. Michael Doherty.
Oh my! This house has changed hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 years. 15 times
15?
Since it was built in 1832. 15 times in less than 100 years. That is quite a lot.
That is definitely
And
quite a
never
lot.
once was it bequeathed. It was always sold.
That is weird, but, well, not weird from what I heard. Just thinking backwards, around 1870-ish?
Yes.
So 1870, Miss Wheeler would be still the owner of the house,
Yes,
right?
indeed. According to the records, yes.
Okay. And the lady that had the house basically just now before she died, how long was she living in that house? When did she buy it?
She owned it for 4 years, from 1926 until her death 1930, earlier this year.
Okay. That is, I think, all we need for now. That is very, very helpful. Thank you so much.
Oh!
What, oh?
In 1899, there is an entry here. Oh! Oh!
Did
Oh my
someone
God.
die?
It
Did it
seems
burn?
like there was a fire,
There was a fire.
and 2 people died. The
That's
parents of a family. Thomas and Imogen Greeley. No, I'm sorry. When I said it was never bequeathed, I misspoke. They did bequeath the house to their younger son. To their young son. He was 5 at the time. It was then rented out in his name to Peter Frampton, who lived there for 6 years. Then it was rented out to Gareth Garland, who only lived there for a year, also in 1906. Then it was sold on behalf of the son to Jason and Jane Aiken. Oh, and then there was an explosion, a gas explosion.
Also not surprising.
How do you mean?
But never mind.
So then the house was repaired, and Jane Aiken sold it to somebody named John Tyler, who died without issue in 1912.
A lot of people died in that house, I have to say.
Yes, indeed. Also, I think maybe one should check the gas installation.
Well, I definitely... Never mind. No, I think the gas probably was faulty in the past. When we were there, everything was fine, so... And also, Arthur did not mention a single note about gas problems. I'm quite sure he would have written it down if he would have stumbled across it.
Yeah, one would have
Bless
thought
his
so,
soul.
yes, indeed.
But just to be curious, Arthur, he had the proper funeral by now?
Yes, the body has been released, and there was a funeral, yeah.
That is good for the family. At least can find peace with that now. And we know for sure he did not murder himself, so that is even better to know. Still scary. And very sad. He was handsome.
Yes, he was, wasn't he? His
He
wife
was.
his fiancée was very lucky.
She was. But she's a good girl, so... Let's see. I'm not sure. I think those records probably are kind of public. Would you be able to, like, send me a copy of the names and the dates?
Of course they are public record. I can make a copy and send it to you.
That would be just lovely, that I can double check details. And but for now, you definitely already helped me with the idea of, yes, this house has been weird most of the time after the Wheelers have lived in there. And
Well, they are certainly the people who lived in there the longest,
well,
for almost 50 years. And after
Miss
that,
Wheeler did.
well, Ms. Wheeler did, yes, that's correct, because her husband died, but well, I mean, at least I assume he died because, well, he must have, because he bequeathed it to her and she became sole owner.
That
So,
definitely sounds like. But
No,
that
I can.
also...
I will sit down and I will copy them out now because it's not like I have plenty of stuff to do, and I will send them over by courier, so you will have them in 2 hours, maybe.
That would be just perfect. If it's...
Excellent.
I will be home the rest of the day because Dottie makes sure that I'm not leaving the house. At least not today on the first day where I'm back home.
Well, and I would say that your Miss Dottie is absolutely right. You should rest up. You were shot at.
I had a lot of rest in the hospital, but I have to say I'm really looking forward to proper good food. That is just the best thing to
And
look forward to.
If we're really honest, you don't really get rest in a hospital. There is nothing like sleeping in your own bed.
That is true. Well, the rest of my body got some kind of rest because I wasn't able to do much, but it's really nice to be back and back on my feet.
I will have this done for you and I will send it to you today.
Thank you so much, and I will keep you posted because I haven't given up the case of this house. We need to figure out what to do with it.
Yes, like I said, we have at least 3 months before anyone will start asking questions.
That is so helpful. Thank you very much. And I obviously will pay you for the copy and the courier.
And do not worry about this. Do not worry about this.
Okay. I hope at least the rest of the business is going well because
Well, I'm in 2 minds about whether I should just wind it down or if I should just keep going. I mean, I do have clients, but you know, it's just not the same with Arthur gone. I'm really, at the moment, I'm re-evaluating everything, and I cannot tell you right now if I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing or if I'm going to retire now and I'm just going to sell up. I honestly don't know. I find it really difficult to make up my mind because this all happens. And I mean, if I'm feeling like this, I don't even want to know how Sarah must feel, because you know she had a whole life planned around him. Well, in a way, I had my whole life planned around him.
You
At
as
least
well. So
it is very difficult. It is very difficult.
just
But I
don't
will come up with something.
don't rush it. I think it has to sink in, as horrible as it sounds, and maybe you find another very talented young man that deserves some support and you
Yes.
can trust.
Yes, I have been thinking about maybe asking Miss Sarah if she would like to get involved. Because she has, I mean, at the moment, I mean, she will be getting the life insurance. This is maybe something that
I
also interests you,
I
because it
was
has been ruled
hoping
as
to.
accidental death. Nobody inquired how one could accidentally cut one's own throat, but it's not been questioned, and she has informed me that the insurance company has paid.
Perfect. As long as it's for a family, not suicide, and she gets the money that she deserves. That's wonderful. And she's a smart girl, so maybe she could be of help.
I will. I'm seriously thinking about this, giving it a couple of more weeks and then making contact and then also seeing how she's getting on and, you know, and then just maybe she may be interested. And even if it's just to get her mind off things for a couple of months, it doesn't need to be a long-term arrangement. But
I think she
she
will.
needs to know that if she ever makes up her mind, there is a place.
She would love that because Arthur cared about this a lot. I'm quite sure she would really enjoy having a bit of a peek that the life he lived at work.
Yes, I'm kind of counting on that a little. So I will let you know. I will let you know. But
Thank
I
you
will
so
I will
very
now
much.
ring off because first of all you should really rest up a little bit, and I will get to making the copy and sending it over. Because
Thank you.
as you know, obviously, he
It
would have
takes
to
some
sit
time.
down and actually
Yeah,
write
yeah,
it
and
out.
write it down. I'm fine. That's
Yeah.
why she's also like it's not as urgent. Do it tomorrow if it's fine as well. And don't worry, I'm sitting on a couch, legs up, so
That's how it should be.
I'm not too stressed out at the moment. Have a lovely rest of the day. Thank you so very 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 much, and yeah, we will keep in contact.
We will, Miss Baker. And he rings off, and yeah.
Alice will hang up and just be like waiting for Dottie to return if she's not.
Yeah, Dottie does return eventually, and she is in. I mean, she says, if this was not totally inappropriate, I would be wearing it indoors. But it is the most lovely coat I have ever seen, and it just goes with everything color-wise that I've got in my wardrobe.
That was his eyes idea with the color, and he is so right. It is perfectly combined, and it's perfect on you. It's really perfect.
I'm really looking forward to wearing it. So how did it go with Mr. Smythe?
Well, he's hanging in there. He has the list of owners, a very
Owner?
long list of owners. The
Oh
house
my.
changed owners 15 times within the 100 years it's out there. It was built in 1832, so it's almost 100 years old.
And it has changed hands 15 times.
15 times, yeah.
That's a lot.
It is. So he will make a copy and send it over, which might be nice to really read through all of it, because I tried to stop in mid-list because it was just a lot. But generally, the house initially was bought by a certain Mr. Wheeler and his wife.
It was built by Mr. Wheeler.
Or built by him. And, well, he died quite quickly. So in 3 years later, he died and she took over the ownership of the house. She lived there till 1881.
Oh, on her own.
On her
Because
own.
the house is quite big.
It is, but it would be within the 60 years the ghost was talking about.
Yes, it would be, wouldn't it?
After that, the house kind of changed owners within like every 1, 2, 3, 4 years, and people died and vanished. They had a burning or fire was there where 2 parents died. There was an explosion, a gas explosion. So I'm quite sure all the ghosts we've seen were owners of the house. Which leads me to the suspicion that Mrs. Wheeler is probably the ghost haunting everyone. It must have been lonely to live in a house like this for not really, but almost 50 years.
And then she just goes off and decides to become a ghost and kill people?
I am not sure. The thing is, in papers on a house, there's no detail on how someone died properly.
Well, but we could always, if we have the names, we could check the obituaries.
Well, the thing is, I would be curious to maybe just let the sergeant do the work. He should get the best information on how people died. Maybe.
That's a good point. If we know the police, we should use them.
I would say so. So I will annoy him with another call. And after that, my dear, I'm not sure, but you know best whom to call. I would love to send a nice flower bouquet to Sarah. Was it Sarah?
Yeah.
To Sarah. Just to maybe give her a little smile, because I'm quite sure she still is fighting about the loss.
I will do that straight away.
That would
yes.
be really lovely. But first of all, let me call the sergeant again. And she will just call or be connected to the sergeant again.
Sergeant Updike speaking.
Miss Baker again. I'm really sorry to
Miss
disturb you
Baker.
again. I have...
Are you cancelling on me?
I would never dare to cancel on you. I'm looking forward to an interesting dinner with really good food. I would just be curious. I got the name of the family that built the house.
Oh, you did? Oh, good.
And I would be really curious on how Mr. Wheeler, so his name is Michael Wheeler, and he built the house in 1832 with his wife Isabel. The thing is, he died 3 years later.
Oh dear.
And she kept the house for herself for almost 50 years on her own.
Mm-hmm.
I would be curious if there are any infos you could get on how Mr. Wheeler died and if they had children.
That should not be a problem. If he died, indeed, then in New York City, then there will be records of his death.
I was hoping so, and I thought I will ask the professional police sergeant before I try to snoop around, and it will probably take me days to find it out.
Mm-hmm.
Because
no, I can find that out. That is not a problem.
Time-wise,
So his name was Michael Wheeler.
Michael Wheeler and his wife Isabel.
1206 Spooner between 1832 and 1835. That should be enough for me to track him down.
That would be really, really lovely, because that lady lived in the house for the longest time ever, compared to all the other owners after that
all the
died
other owners
and died and died and
in
died.
the house.
Well, I will have to watch the details when I get the papers. Mr. Smythe will send me a copy, but the house switched owners 15 times in the last 100 years. And there have been a lot of deaths. 2 parents died in a fire. There was a gas explosion.
Oh my!
It kind of fits to the ghosts we've seen.
Maybe that Mr. Wheeler wasn't such a good builder after all.
Well, I'm not sure if it was Mr. Wheeler or the dear Mrs. Wheeler haunting the owners, like she haunted us. Because it was definitely a female.
You mean this house has been haunted for the last, since she died?
Yeah, so also I would be curious, she lived until 1881, then the house switched owner. Could you also check how she died?
Well, I can try.
Because
What do you have a
obviously,
first name by any chance?
Isabel,
Isabel Wheeler. Well, yes, I will. I will do
as
my
I said,
best. I
she
will do my
died
best.
1881,
Hmm?
and I'm curious on how she died, because on all I so far snapped up on Ghost, it's not like I'm falling asleep happily in my bed and I turn into a ghost thing. Something else happens usually, so curious.
We need to find out what that something else is, because I would hate for that to happen to me and then I end up haunting the police station.
Honestly, you are much too good of a person to haunt anyone.
I'm pretty sure that some of my sergeants think differently. But I will let you go and I will do my investigation and I will
Thank you
let you
so,
know.
so
Maybe I
much.
will have something for tonight already.
If that would be lovely, if not for the next days. Thank you and see you later.
See you later. So time moves a little bit more quickly. So basically, we see Dottie really quickly running around, grabbing the phone, making a really quick phone call, sending a flower bouquet. Then we hear somebody at the door. We see Dottie running to the door. She comes back with a bouquet of flowers and a letter. From Mr. Smythe, it seems. The flowers are for you, and so is the letter.
That is awfully nice of him. So
Shall I put them in a vase while you look at the letter?
yes, please. And Alice would will open the letter and would peek inside and hope it's the list.
It is a list, and it is a very long list indeed. It has 15 positions on it. So from Michael Wheeler and wife down to Alexandra Fyodorovna Romanova, the most recent owner, recently deceased. And you have different names. You have Dr. George Weaver is one, Peter Frampton, Gareth Garland, Jason and Jane Aiken, John Taylor, Louis Tycroft, Amanda Bentry and family, Andrea Falcone, and of course Alexandra Fyodorovna Romanova. It's a long list with dates. So some people only lived there for a year, like Gareth Garland. He owned the house in 1906, and that's when he took possession of it and ceased to own it. And then it was empty for a year, and it was the next owners are entered as Jason and Jane Aiken from 1907 to 1908. John Tyler at least owned it for 4 years, as did Louis Tycroft. But it's really just the Wheeler family, or what was left of it after Michael died, who owned it for any length of time.
That definitely is weird, to say least. So
especially since it becomes, when you look at it, it becomes quite clear that a lot of them didn't sell it. So it wasn't like, I have this house and I sell it to someone else, but it says deceased, sold by the state of New York or the city of New York. So basically when you die without issue and there is nobody who inherits it, it falls back to the city that would then have asked a solicitor and a real estate agent to just sell it. So you see that quite a lot.
Well, it fits to at least the amount of ghosts we've seen. So she will put the letter aside. Basically when the inspector will join them, she will just give him the thing to look at as well, that he has the same information, but also make sure that, the seventh daughter is not seeing that list. And then I think the rest of the day until dinner time and the guests arrive, Alice will be nice, just leaning back, maybe going through the newspaper, because there's definitely a newspaper from today.
Of course there is.
We will just wait and see what the evening brings.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Dottie is actually doing a really good job of not overtly spying on you and watching for signs of weakness, tiredness, or anything like that. So if she's doing it, she's being very discreet. And you can smell the food being cooked and everything, and you read the paper. There is gossip, then there's gossip, and then there's more gossip. You read the obituaries. Nobody you think important died. More importantly, nobody you knew died.
That is even more important.
And yeah, and then there are some weddings, but again, people who had been announcing their engagement years ago are finally getting round to it. So yeah, old Jessica is finally. It's finally happening. You were kind of not thinking it was going to happen anymore because the two of them had been, engaged for years. And then it's around about half an hour before the guests are due to arrive, and you can see that Dottie's laying the table, putting a nice. How about I take the Mr. Smythe's bouquet and I just put it in there as a centerpiece?
That would be lovely.
So
although
she does.
Your bouquets are also just however you want.
Well, I think this one will freshen up the dinner table because it's yellow. It's yellow flowers, obviously, so it's going to look really good. And so she's
Then
basically laying the
put it in
table,
the middle.
and she is looking at wine bottles, and she's making a decision without even consulting you. But it will be red, and then and then of course there is the first knock on the door. And she says, "I will just be a second and see who this is, but then maybe you could take the next guest because I will really have to look after the beef."
That is no problem, my dear. Thank you very much.
She walks out and she comes back in with the sergeant, who
Miss-
also is carrying a bouquet of flowers.
Goodness gracious. Daughter, we need to put... No. Sergeant, no. Sorry. Mr. Updike. Ronald, very nice to have you here. Thank you for joining us.
And thank you so much for the invitation. And he hands you the flower bouquet.
We'll take the flower bouquet and we'll just be like, Dottie, I will take care of a vase. Don't worry about that. And, just take a seat, Sergeant. I will be right with you in a second. If you want to have a brandy up front, just...
Oh, yes, I would love some brandy.
Just help yourself and... while I just go for the flowers, and she will just pull out the paper and will hand him, or the papers probably, that Mr. Smythe was quick. He sent me the list. Just have a snoop around and see if you see...
Oh, and I've got something too, and he
what I
taps
see.
his breast pocket.
I will be extra quick with the flowers, just a second. And she will basically search for a vase where the flowers go in.
Well, I mean, it's quite easy. You don't really need to search because you know where Dottie keeps them, and you find a nice vase, and you find a nice spot, and it looks lovely. I mean, you look like a flower shop at this stage.
Yeah, I'm just like, this is a lot. She's quite hopeful that the girl joining us will not have flowers with her, she hopes. We will see.
You never know,
But, and then she will just go back and will probably pour herself a bit of brandy in as well. And we'll just sit opposite of Ronald, because, well, definitely. And we'll be just like, so, what do you have for me then? Next to the beautiful flowers.
Well, and he leans back and he takes out his paper and he unfolds it, and he's really cherishing that moment. He's like, well, Michael Wheeler, born in 1800, would be 130 years this year. Well, he and his wife Isabel, they were the talk of the town at the time. He was quite a well-known stonemason. In fact, he started working on gravestones for the local graveyard, but then he basically worked his way up, and he was the person who did all the masonry work at the local magistrate's office. So the house that you see, and he names you an address, All of the stonemason work is his work. It's
Well,
there to this day.
he knew his work. That was fine.
And he must
History.
have been very dashing by all accounts. And his Isabel was described as a modest beauty, whatever that means. And the two of them got married, and he built the house for her essentially, and they moved in. And after about a year or so, her health began to fail, and she was bedridden. And then he died in a workplace accident in the magistrate's seat. So he was working on something. I couldn't find out what it was, something on the inside of the building, and
But
he
he
died.
did
It was a
not-
tragedy, but it was also deemed an accidental death.
And it was not at home. He was at work.
No, it wasn't at home at all. It was actually quite far away, and you would know the geography of New York City. It's nowhere near his home. And he left all of his estate to his wife.
Which you do.
And apparently he left her a healthy sum, so she never wanted for anything except her health. And she lived in the house, and then something happened. I mean, this isn't in the obituary. I have been doing some research on her as well. In 1851, 16 years after his death, everything changed for her. Her illness faded and went away completely.
After that amount of years?
Yes, she made a full recovery. However, there were weird things happening. There was talk. I found some entries of it's a bit strange. It's unclear, but it seems like there may have been some people going missing at the time. A child here, a child there. You know, runaways.
Hmm.
And then there was, and then I found a police record of an altercation between a young man named Giovanni di Vitello and a couple of local gentlemen who beat him up and called him a filthy foreigner. And it turns out that Giovanni di Vitello had an address at 1206 Spooner. He is the son of an Adele di Vitello who lived there as well. Apparently she had come from Italy and she worked as a nurse for Ms. Wheeler. Anyway, a couple of days later, one of the gentlemen, the leader indeed, the ringleader of the assault on Mr. Di Vitello, collapsed in the street and started to bleed unstoppably from his ears, eyes and nose and throat, and died on the spot. The doctor believed that he had drowned in his own blood. There was no reason why this would happen according to the doctor, and the coroner's report ruled it accidental death.
We heard that a lot around this house. That sounds like a horrible way to
And
die.
then there was something that I thought was just curious, but it may be related. Maybe this lady that we're meeting tonight can shed some light on it. There was a spurt of deaths among plants. There was a series of 10 chestnut trees that all withered and died within a month.
Around the house?
On the street.
On the street.
On Spooner. I found that in one of the newspapers that I was reading about the time, and it was put down to some kind of infestation with an unknown species of bug. Sounds very scientific. Unknown species of bug.
That sounds like an excuse, because they could not explain it.
And yes. And it's interesting. There are still some people on Spooner that lived there at the time that would know Ms. Wheeler. She only died 50 years ago.
I just wanted to say they must be old, but
well, everyone on
in the
Spooner
street is old.
If they lived there as children, they would be 60 now.
And usually you get the house from your parents and then you give it to your children, so... Okay.
Somebody who would have been born there and lived there for 70 years would have been 20 when she died. They would know some things, maybe. They might remember stuff.
They might be, because it all sounds really weird.
Well, according to this, like I said, it all stopped once this person was killed in the street. Well, fell over and died.
So the trees happened before he died?
Yes.
Okay. It would be curious to know if... I'm still like, how can someone just get well again after such a long time?
Unfortunately, it
like
doesn't
a
say what the
miracle.
illness was. If we had a name for the illness, we could ask a physician.
The question is if Mrs. DiVitello is involved in the sudden healing.
Well, I mean, she worked as a nurse, so maybe she brought some medicine from Italy.
Maybe she brought more than just medicine.
You mean she's a ghost too?
But maybe she is like a medium and used ghosts to help her. I have no idea what kind of stuff is out there. Maybe we will learn a bit later. Maybe it was Mrs. Wheeler on her own, but before... Do you have any weird things happening before she got healed in your notes? So before 51, next to him dying in the accident, we just put it maybe as a real accident, because honestly being a mason out there is a risky job.
No, actually, that was... No. There was nothing... I mean, she pretty much vanished from the news. She inherited it, and then there was, you know, like, every so often there would be kind of like a church tea, and she would attend, and you would see a picture of her sitting in a wheelchair and looking really miserable. So she obviously found it very difficult to get out and about. But, you know, and then, like I said, they said she made a miraculous recovery in one of the church papers that I looked at. She was very active in the church afterwards again. Only this Italian lady never showed up, which is a bit strange, because aren't the Italians all Catholics?
At least as far as I know. But maybe
And yes, and I did, and I did find out something else because, I started looking up Spooner. There was a murder-suicide there. Just a couple of years later, in 1884, the owner of the house shot his wife in the chest with a double-barrel shotgun, 2 barrels. And then he reloaded and shot himself in the face.
Well, after what we experienced, I'm not surprised about that.
And there was a fire,
That
which
was
2 people were killed, and a gas explosion, in which 1 person was killed.
a lot of people died in that house. Too many people to be...
Well, I mean, Miss Wheeler, the murder-suicide, that's 2. The fire is another 2, brings it to 5. Then we have the gas leak, that's 6. Then Alexandra Fyodorovna Romanova, who killed herself with a straight razor, that's 7. And then Arthur Donnelly, who, well, maybe we should not actually think that Miss Romanova killed herself. Maybe she died the same way Arthur did.
It definitely sounds like
so
it.
we have
will
9
never
deaths.
Find out. I know a boy drowned in that house, for sure.
Well,
or at least a child died. I'm not sure if it was a boy. I think maybe, but a child drowned in there. And to be honest, when you look at the houses being forwarded, it really reads like death, sold on, death, sold on, death, sold on. Kind of, maybe. There's a lot of deceased in that list.
Maybe we should just... Maybe selling it isn't a good idea.
Honestly, burning it down sounds like the only idea, although I'm worried about the houses around that, so...
Also, it would be illegal.
Unless the owner wanted to burn it. Can the owner burn it? You
cannot just burn down a house. You would have to have it dismantled. You would have to bring in somebody and actually tear it down. You can't just sit there and burn a house. That would definitely be illegal, Ms. Baker.
Then we will need to find other ways, because...
Also, interestingly enough, it is owned by her estate, isn't it?
As far as understood, yes. Looking on the list, if there's a marking, it should be then that it's by the estate.
And aren't they in Europe? I'm not sure if we can tell somebody in Europe who's Russian that they should burn a house in New York City that they've just inherited and are trying to sell.
They have no idea what is really happening. The only thing they know, it's a bit troublesome. There's paperwork, there are termites. Mr. Smythe did a really great job to...
Termites. That's funny.
Well, Europeans seem to believe everything. New York has quite a naming on maybe not the best... I don't know. At least they bought the story, and we have around 3 months' time before there are questions asked why nothing is happening.
And at this moment, there's a knock on the door.
Just give me a second. Alice will get up, grabbing the cane. We'll just walk towards the door, and we'll open it carefully.
Outside is a... Well, it's kind of like one of those women who are young but have aged before their time. And she's wearing a really unbecoming hat.
Well, at least when she has to go inside, the hat goes off, because it's rude to wear a hat inside. I will just...
And as she takes off the hat, you realize why she's wearing one, because a full shock of bright red hair falls down over her shoulders.
What a lovely hair color. You must be... Just thinking about the name. Sinead. I know how to write the name. I always have a problem to say it. You must be Sinead. Dottie told me a lot about you. Just come in.
Yes, and you must be Miss Baker. And she has no problem walking past you, and you can
Just
see
past
that's
you.
the Irish genes coming through. She's a Dottie
She
right
will
there.
just give me your beautiful hat and your coat
Well, that
and
old thing, I'm just wearing it because people just tend to stare at my hair. I'll have to replace it sometime. It's really terrible, but it was the only thing that I had handy. So yes, thank you so much. And she also
no
takes off her
problem.
coat and she hands it to you.
Just hanging everything up. We'll
And you
just
notice she's
call.
wearing trousers.
Oh, plus point for that. Um, and Alice will just call towards the kitchen. Dottie, Sinead is here as well. Just to let you know, I will entertain. Don't be rushed. And she would just like if you would just follow me into the salon. We have another guest. I'm sorry we did not tell you, but
Oh, that's quite all right. I am
this
intruding. This is your home. You can invite as many people as you like.
well, but I invited you for dinner, so it's always weird to have surprise guests at hand as well. But this is Mr. Updike, a dear friend of the family.
She looks at you and she says, "This happens to me all the time. People always think that I can predict how many people will be at a dinner party or that I can foresee these things, and no, I can't."
I was more thinking about it. It's kind of rude, but good to know that you can't predict the future because that sounds like a fun and horrible thing at the same time.
It is a curse. There are some who can, and for them it's usually a terrible curse.
Yeah, it sounds like it's probably not that you can switch it on and say, I want to know, like, lottery numbers, which would be a blessing.
No.
But you will see a lot of stuff you don't want to see, probably. But Mr. Updike is honestly also quite interested in ghosts, and he's also not as knowledgeable as I am neither, so we are just really curious, and I thought before you tell me and I tell him and he has questions and I have to ask you again, I thought just let's sit together, enjoy some great food and just talk and see what we can learn about that, because I honestly always thought ghosts were just made up things in books. Dottie told me otherwise.
Well, they are and they aren't. I think that most people, when they hear the word ghost, have a wrong impression of what it is that they deal with. Ghosts really only exist in books.
Okay.
What you see is... Oh, I hope you didn't see anything, did you?
Maybe. Probably.
Well, what people refer to when they talk about ghosts, I prefer to call the essence of a person. Some call it the soul,
Which
and it
sounds
may be
weird,
just
doesn't
that.
it? The soul sounds...
However, soul also has a lot of religious implications.
The essence. I like that wording. That feels much nicer to say than soul, because I'm with you. The soul is very linked to church.
Indeed. So, sometimes, when a person dies, a part of them which I want to refer to as the essence stays. I am not sure why. I have never been able to penetrate that last question. I have spoken to many of these essences. They cannot explain why or what's happening. They just realize, and most of them actually do, that something is terribly wrong. Some of them just linger, and we don't notice them. This is probably the worst kind of existence for them, because while they can see us, we can't see them. They are kind of in an in-between state. They are here, yet they are not. And It is possible to release them if you know that they are there. That's where I come in. This whole idea of, unfinished business or revenge is usually not the case. It is, like I said, unclear. Sometimes it is somebody who has lived a very full life and died peacefully in his sleep. And sometimes it's a violent murder victim. Sometimes it's a child that was, very young and died of a cough, lung infection. They come in all shapes and forms. Once an essence has been discovered, I can release it if the essence wants it. Which is mostly the case. However, there are the ones that you would probably liken to ghosts, and those are the ones that make themselves known. And those are usually not benevolent. Some of them have been around for a very long time. Sometimes they are quite aggressive, sometimes they want something, but usually it's not good. I will be quite frank with you. If you have what you would refer to as a ghost, chances are that this thing is going to be quite violent. And may not even want to leave. Some of them enjoy this half-life because it gives them power. Some of them can be very, very, very powerful. I've seen them manifest themselves in physical form. They were able to touch things. They were able to manipulate reality, lift things, throw things. I have seen them attack people. It's not fun. And if you think that I'm joking or exaggerating...
No, don't worry. I'm not. The poor sergeant probably turned pale.
Some of them are also able to do something that I would refer to as possession. And I don't mean in the biblical or church sense. They are able to take over a human being and make them do things that they wouldn't normally do.
Alice will just carefully look over to the sergeant or Mr. Updike and just back. Yeah, we seen that.
That is usually a lot less difficult for them than to actually manifest themselves. So it's an easy way out. If they want to achieve something for which they need a physical form, if they can find a weak individual, then they can just take them over. And by weak, I don't mean that they are physically or spiritually or mentally weak. It is just that they are in a state that, or unintelligent for that matter. It just means that they are at the moment in a state of stress or shock, where their own essence is at an ebb. And again, I'm not expecting you to believe this, because lots of people probably...
Alice will just put her hand on... Alice will put her own hand on the hand of Sinead, just like, believe me, dear, we believe every single word you say so far.
I can tell that either you have experienced this or you are a very good actress.
Well, the first is probably the proper answer, but let's just looking at the watch, I could guess by now also dinner is probably ready. Let's just take a deep breath, and she will also just, when she gets up, just like put her hand on the shoulder of Ronald, just like patting him, just like everything is fine. And we'll motion everyone over to the table. Let's just enjoy some food, and Sinead, if it would be okay, I would have a few questions, just to be curious if you came across things like, well, maybe we found out?
Yes, of course, that's why I'm here.
No,
Please.
are these essences, so while we eat and fill up and
Yeah.
so on, so Dottie now gets definitely all of the talk as well. And do any essences, are they basically stuck to an item or location, or can they just freely go wherever they want? What was your experience?
That is a very interesting question. Locations do attract essences, or maybe trap them too. I have only ever come across one essence that seemed to be unbounded and was able to move. Although to this day, I do have my doubts sometimes that maybe I was encountering not just one, but two essences that were very similar. I cannot say for sure. But usually an essence stays.
Okay. But
I'm not sure if they are linked to objects, but they are definitely linked to locations.
Okay.
For example, a place where they died, a place where they had lived, a place of meaning. Some of them are stuck to their grave.
That sounds horrible. So
Yes, especially since they can see themselves in their grave.
That is even more poor people. So you think if an essence is stuck or linked, let's say linked to their house where they lived a long time, died as well, suffered probably through quite a bit. If you would have an item of that house, it's unlikely that the ghost is basically traveling towards the item if it leaves the house.
Traveling towards the item? Maybe not, but you must think of essence like something that can and does spread. So as they stay, their essence becomes both stronger and also bigger. So it can suffuse items. And also they can take essence from us. Certain things that we do or certain emotions can feed them. Fear, for example. Panic is a very good one. If you're afraid of poltergeists, you should be, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to make you afraid to make themselves more powerful. And it usually works. I mean, if you've ever seen a mahogany table that seats 12 fly through a room without any reason or rhyme, you will be panicked too.
That I definitely can get. So in theory, when there was a piano in a house where the essence lived and the piano's sold, brought somewhere else, it might be that stories around the piano playing music on its own without help might be the essence that spread out and stuck to the piano.
That is quite an interesting question. So the piano was playing itself.
It was a story to be told, yes, and we were just a bit curious about could this really happen if the piano was moved half across the city?
That could happen. That could absolutely happen. Do we know if this piano belonged to the essence?
We suspect so.
Well,
maybe to a family member of.
If it has been exposed to the essence for a long time, then yes, of course, that's not a problem at all. Especially if that person whose essence we're talking about used to play the piano.
We can suspect so, maybe. Well, the other question, just to be curious, have you ever heard one essence to trap other essences?
Oh yes, multiple times. But usually that's a violent thing.
It is
They need to
indeed.
kill. They need to die. I mean, they need to die somehow because you can't just. When I said that they can get our essence, the essence isn't fully taken. It's weakened, and they fill their batteries with it, as it were. But we don't die from it. Our essence doesn't go away. If you want to get someone's complete essence, they need to die first. So that would be quite a violent thing to do. But of course, an essence could try and kill someone. I mean, it has been known to happen.
And this essence would, well, the one they are capturing is helping them again to get stronger.
Yes, but also, I know this sounds weird, but
Nothing is weird around this, believe me.
now they have somebody who's like them, that they can see, that can see them. It's almost like having a family, in a twisted kind of way.
Basically, they have company.
Like I said, I mean, being an essence trapped here is not nice because they don't really. A lot of them can't communicate. So they are alone.
Always
They live and, well, they don't live. They exist. And as far as I can tell, and others like me, this can be an eternal state. I mean, I have a colleague who once met an essence that has been around for 1,000 years. I mean, just imagine.
Let's not hope that thing stays around for that long.
And I mean, there are, the Indians, the native Indians here, when they talk about those spirits, they're essentially talking about essences, and some of them are very old, and some of them are very, very evil. I mean, a lot of people just think that this is like indigenous nonsense, but I know that this isn't nonsense, that they know. They are, in a way, they are able to communicate much better with them. They have got something that we have lost. For them, the spirits exist. It's not a question. They call them spirits, which I like better than ghosts, because spirits doesn't need to be something negative, because most essences just want to leave.
Just to be curious, have you ever heard that a spirit, I like that word, used a phone to call people they loved and care about?
Have I ever heard of a spirit using a phone? Not that I can say, no, but I wouldn't rule it out because, do you actually know how phones work?
I am not 100% sure. I only can confirm ghosts can use a phone.
Well, then that's something new
Just
that I will file away for further examination
for
later. But
your-
I wouldn't put it. I mean, I've seen them write letters.
Well, one was clever enough to figure out the phone. Just to be, again, very curious. I'm really sorry for all the stories. Please take a bit more. No one should be hungry. And Alice is eating surprisingly well. Usually she's not eating that much, but honestly, she's
Dottie
hungry.
is glowing.
After this hospital thing, this is like a feast. She's enjoying food and she's hungry. So, I would just be curious if we have a spirit. Well, honestly, to let out the if, we have a spirit that is capturing other spirits by murdering them in their own house.
That would be very evil.
Yeah, she is evil, believe me. The captured souls would be the ones that would easily enjoy to be freed, I would guess. Because they definitely did not look happy in her possession.
Presumably, yes.
But it would also make the evil capturing spirit very angry, I suspect. Like a cat not getting what it wants.
Just like a cat that's not getting what he wants. Indeed, huh? Yes.
Cute love.
It would make, well, I mean, if she is building her own little family, then of course, you know, if you take that family away, she will not be pleased.
Because we would really like to free the spirits of those people stuck there. There are really good people there that don't belong there, that should move on.
But I mean, what about her? If you just take away, as I said, her.
So actually we would need to take her away first before. Then it should be easy to free the others. Or easier, much easier to free the others. Or they even can move on without big help because the one holding them there is not there anymore.
It would be difficult, yes.
Okay. Also another maybe weird thing. Have you ever seen or heard that spirits can look outside through a mirror?
Oh, that is common knowledge. Mirrors are a very good place if you want to see spirits.
Have you also ever heard that they can pull a human being through the mirror to their side?
Only the most powerful can do that. But mirrors, you have to understand, are special. You've probably heard this saying, if you smash a mirror, it means 7 years bad luck.
Well, I am on the 7 years of bad luck trip, I can tell you that. Because I had to smash a mirror. Because there was a lot in there.
Well, I mean, this whole thing. And then you know how some cultures, when somebody dies, they cover all the mirrors in the house?
Yeah.
So as the ghost, the soul not getting stuck. It's, of course, that's a myth. However, there is something disconcerting about mirrors because they show us ourselves, but we are kind of turned around. Mirror image.
True.
And this is just physics, optics. However, we know that there is more to it. That a mirror is, when the eyes are the windows of the soul, the mirror is but a veil that covers what we in the old country call the other world. There is something out there. It's difficult to describe. It is almost as if the essences inhabit a shadow world. And
Shadow world fits the description.
some say that for us humans, it's possible to enter it if we manage to get through a mirror. Now, when you touch a mirror, you will usually not be able to penetrate it. Unless something really weird happens. I have never done it. And I also have to tell you that I don't want to.
I can tell you, you definitely don't want to, because it is creepy as hell and it's freezing cold.
You've been inside a mirror.
I have. We have.
And you've come out again.
Well, thanks to Ronald, yes.
She looks at Ronald.
When he touched the mirror, it was a mirror. When he touched the mirror, it was like a door. You could just go through. But that fits to your description.
But then we're talking about a really, really powerful essence.
Yeah, honestly, after all that she seems to have done, yes. Well, she has a lot of essences in her collection. She's not that old. She is around probably 60 years old. Well, she was old when she was still alive, but she's been around for a while. And as I said, she collected a lot of essences herself in her own house. And they are stuck there.
But to me, that sounds like there is something else going on as well. I mean, that is brujeria. There is some witchcraft going on here. And I mean, yes, actually, that exists. Yes, you are dealing with a spirit, but there is something else. Is there anything else about this woman that you're talking about that is important that I should know?
Well, I'm not sure how well are the Italians with this witchcraft brujeria thing.
Well,
Which
I'm
sounds
pretty
like...
sure that there are Italian witches, but I mean, honestly, she's Italian?
No. To give you the short summary, she was very sick for a long while in that house, more or less bound to the bed. And then an Italian nurse probably showed up, as far as we guess, because it has been a bit away from the past. But since then, she, like a miracle, got well again, could move around again. And that nurse definitely stayed by her side and lived in the house with her. And we also know of, I'm not sure if I want to call it accident, the son of the nurse got beaten up by people, and one of those people's died a horrible death in the middle of the street a few days later. Which doesn't sound like a ghost.
You are dealing with very dark powers here, Ms. Baker.
Well, it fits to the feeling we have after all that happened. So you say it's not only spirit or essence. That is definitely an issue, but there's more.
To me, that sounds like black magic. I mean, if this person died in the street, how did they die? Did they get murdered, or how did they die?
They just collapsed and bled out.
Oh.
And drowned in their own blood, as it was. I'm really sorry. This is not talk for dinner.
And
I'm
I assume that
really
there was
sorry.
no precondition that would have explained this sudden death.
No, not that we know of. She would look at Mr. Updike, but I'm not sure how well he's holding on to all of this after hearing what we are hearing.
You are definitely looking at some very, very bad stuff going on here. And I think that it could be that the... Have you ever heard of Dorian Gray? The book. The book of Dorian Gray.
I read that the story is scary but very intriguing.
What if I told you that it's not a story? This can really... I'm not saying that it did happen, but it can.
That you can be bound to a thing and not grow older?
That you can take a part of yourself, if you know how.
Okay.
And put it somewhere. And that part is completely disconnected from yourself. So you said this lady was ill.
She was, based on the information.
So what if I told you that if you know... Whoops. Ow.
Playing under difficult conditions, but very cute and cuddly conditions.
What if I told you that if you knew the right person and the person knew the right things, and by right things I mean all the wrong things, she could take away your illness and you would be... Ow!
You will be hurt.
And you will be absolutely fine.
But you also
But at
cannot
some
die.
point, there's a price to pay.
That
Would that sum up what was happening there? Would that sound at all familiar?
it would make a lot of sense based on the facts we have.
Yes, but then you're talking about black magic. Then there is something. So basically what's happened, or what could have happened, I'm not saying that this is what happened, but it sounds an awful lot like it, is that this woman, this Italian woman, told this lady, well, I can make you whole again.
But
And you will be fine. But at the same time, she probably sold this lady's essence to someone or something. That is a possibility. And this means that this lady is now trapped in a situation that she may not have wanted to enter into. Maybe nobody told her what was going to happen. And also, all of the badness of her situation, all of the badness and the pain and everything she would have suffered, all of this suffering would be stuck in that essence. So this essence is bound to be really pissed off, if, pardon my French.
it mentioned that she doesn't like things taken. Also not the company she built up, so she's definitely... Okay, but if there's black magic, is there also like white magic, like helping? Are there ways to do this? Not asking if you could, I would be curious as well, but just generally if you know.
It really depends on what we're looking at. If she has, if you will, sold her soul, there is very little to nothing you can do. Then she just has to accept this fate and go to wherever she's being called. It's probably not going to be easy to make her, but she needs to go. You see, although I'm a Catholic, or maybe because I'm a Catholic, I do believe in hellfire and damnation, but not the way that the Catholic Church tells us about. However, there is a place where the evil people go.
Or the people that make literally kind of a pact with the devil.
Indeed. And it's not just the Christian culture that tells us this. This idea of making a pact with a dark force is something that you find everywhere. Some call them demons. And if this is the case, and I truly believe that there are people who can call up enough darkness to make a pact with it. Not that I would condone this, and I think it is very dangerous to do it, and you shouldn't. Maybe this is what we're seeing here, and if this is what we're seeing here, then you're looking at a full-blown exorcism. And you also need to know which entity this pact is with. And then one can try and see if there is anything one can do. But I cannot emphasize this too much. What you're dealing with is more than a standard haunting, and it is very dangerous. I would not be surprised if you were to come near this essence, she might take possession of you and try to kill you. First of all, because you would be interesting as company, but also because you're getting awfully close and dangerously so.
Just to tell you, done that, been through that, so yes.
She's possessed you and you're still alive?
well, she possessed someone and tried to kill me. And
And you're still alive.
she will just pat Dottie's hand because she's quite sure Dottie is not feeling well.
No,
Hearing
Dottie
all of
is
this.
actually very pale at this stage.
Dottie, my dear, don't you think maybe now it's time for some pancakes and some dessert? I think some sugar will help to maybe let us all feel a bit happier.
Dottie actually just gets up, she doesn't even say anything, and she walks to the kitchen. You can hear her start making
I am
pancakes.
really sorry. This all took quite something on us because we were not prepared for all of this being real. It's still hard to figure out that this is real. It still feels like a bad book we are stuck in. But you mean we would need to figure out which entity the pact is with?
Yes.
Sergeant, I'm very afraid I think we still need to find someone who can translate Russian for us.
Russian.
Maybe.
I thought she was Italian.
I'm not sure if it would. Maybe we will find. We don't have the chance to find. We will try to figure something out. I'm not sure.
I would advise you to stay away from that place, though. I would be very careful, because if possession has happened once, it can happen again a lot more easily.
Okay, that
Because the essence knows you. It knows your weaknesses. So, for example, it could try and lure you. It would know who you like, who you love, and it could try and impersonate that person and make you come to it.
So we need to
If
be
that makes
smart.
sense. So,
The thing is, if we want information, it's in that house, probably.
I see what you mean.
We found diaries of one of the caught essences, so not of the original evil essence, but one of the essence that basically people that died there and are stuck there. It's a question if they figured something out before they died.
How did they die?
Throat was cut with a
Oh
with
dear.
a razor, to be honest.
I assume that there was a lot of blood.
Yes. And it seems to have turned out to be her preferred way to kill people. Well, not with me, obviously.
Somebody drowned in their own blood, didn't they?
They did initially. That was the first weird case we heard of, next to her being magically better again. At least that has given us a lot of direction. But that also means my initial idea of smashing mirrors would have helped, because it would have been more difficult for the evil spirit to get through.
Yes, indeed.
Sadly, there are a lot of mirrors in that house, so...
Which is not surprising. Also, does the house have a kitchen?
Yes. Someone burned there. Or
I've
two
always wanted
people
to say
burned
this.
alive.
Beware of the sink.
Okay. The bathtub was already really scary, I have to say, but...
There's a bathtub. What was scary
yes.
about the bathtub?
Well, there was water running, and when I looked behind the curtain of the bath, the water started to drain again, but there was obviously no plug, but why would there? And I'm quite sure I saw a childlike figure. Well, not figure, more like
A shade?
a shade. The water was flowing around it, so I honestly guess
Well,
a child
probably
died
there was a
in
child
there.
that drowned in the bathtub. It's quite common for essences to reenact their own deaths.
We've seen that. People burned in that house. We've seen bird people running around and poofing out of existence again. We know that someone died from shotgun to the head. We've seen them
that must
walking
have been
around.
terrible.
Someone died through to gas explosion. So a lot of dead people in that house.
And
Not
nobody
sure-
ever took any notice that this house seems to be a virtual death trap.
At least not that we know of.
Because, to be quite honest, if this house is in New York City, then I certainly have never heard of it. Nobody has ever tried to investigate it, because something like that would go around in my circle.
Well, I cannot tell you where it is exactly.
No, I'm not asking
but
you,
I can
because
tell
I
you
have no
it's
intention
in
of
the
going
city.
anywhere near this place.
That is good to know.
At least not unarmed.
It's sadly a house in the middle of the city, surrounded by a lot of other houses, with very nice people around it. Okay, so we need to figure out most of... Also have... No, that's not that important. We know there are things from that house at another place. That's why I asked with the piano, for example. There are more things like that, together with the piano. It seems like no one wants to buy the stuff. It's sold, or it's been tried to be sold for years now. And something seems to stop people from recognizing that stuff is value, or no one wants to have it. That definitely sounds like the essence is there and fighting off that someone grabs their stuff, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's probably the essence just ensuring that... Jesus. That nobody tries to take what's theirs. So if you were to, like take away the house, like selling it to someone else, of course that's like taking it away from them.
What would you just guess? Because I know this is all still guessing, because you never know how something reacts. If we would take one of the items, not from the house, but that is already outside of the house, next to the piano, and we would A, buy it, and B, burn it.
Well, I would assume that you can buy it and you can burn it if you bring up enough willpower.
Well, it's worth a try.
I think it's going to be really difficult, but remember you were able to smash the mirror.
Sadly, just one. It would have been helpful if I could have gotten, although honestly it would not have helped with the possession, so...
The possession would still have gone ahead, but
Yeah.
it would have made it a little bit more difficult for it to come out. So, and I think it should be possible. But you see, when you say that nobody was trying to buy the stuff, imagine why, what must have been going on. It must have basically pushed them away somehow. So that buying something else, even something more expensive or something less beautiful, must have seemed the easier, the better, the more desirable option. That's a very strong manipulation that's happening there.
It all fits too. That is a very strong spirit with...
Yes, indeed.
It seems like
especially
an
if you
extra
say that
strong
this stuff
bond.
is not even inside the house but far away from, or away from it.
Yeah.
This essence is very strong, which again makes me think that, or encourages me to think that it's more than just the essence, that there is more to it.
So, just to be hypothetical, because I know it will be horrible and difficult to do that, if we would burn down the house, would that make things worse or better?
It wouldn't make any difference.
The place
I would assume that
be
the
still.
essence is now actually in the land.
That doesn't make it better, that makes it definitely worse.
There is something you can do. You could, have you ever been to a funeral?
Sadly, a few times in my life, yes.
And you know what the church people do. And you know the story of vampires in consecrated ground.
Yes.
You don't need a priest, but if somebody knows what to do, they can, if you will, consecrate the ground. But if you just burn down the house,
The ground is still.
chances are, and I would actually bet
It will
that
spread.
within a year, you will see somebody single-mindedly rebuilding the house, and it will look just like the old one. And they, if you ask them, they won't even be knowing what they're doing.
Okay, so not really a way to get rid of it. Except...
Also, isn't it just illegal to burn down property that's not yours, and especially inside a city? I mean, you could...
It is also, I don't want to hurt the other houses and other people around, which honestly, in the city, if one house burns, others will burn too. But I was just in theory curious if that would have been like an easy way out. I already suspected that it wouldn't. That is a lot to handle. The problem is we can't keep people out of that house forever.
Maybe ask the person who buys it not to ever move in.
Who would believe that there are ghosts there and don't go into the house?
You would have to come up with something else. Bad plumbing.
The thing is, even if no one is living in there, you can bet that there a homeless person will just see for that the house is empty.
That is of course true. And then of
and
course
will
if
get inside.
if the essences are trapped in there, then they will be stuck there until such time as somebody releases them. So that would not solve that problem.
We will have to figure something out. There's a lot of process. First of all, thank you for all the open answers. And as I said, we are not making fun of you. We sadly lived through a lot of all the things you summarized and told us about, which it sounds a lot in itself.
Yes, indeed. I mean, this has been a very interesting evening. It's very rare that I meet somebody who doesn't have the gift but has been possessed.
Well, I can't imagine it was fun.
Like I said, it's never fun, but for someone like me, at least, I kind of know what to expect.
So for the good side, I'm just picking one single good side. If we can find out a way to get rid of that evil thing, we could release the others and give them peace.
Oh, absolutely. I assume that they would also love to go.
They looked like they would love to go.
Then that's not going to be difficult. Then it is really just a question of how to release them.
So mainly it's the question how to get rid of her and how to release her into wherever.
I will tell you one thing, she will not go quietly, because wherever that is that she needs to go to, she knows that she doesn't want to go there.
Well, she doesn't go quietly, we already figured that one out. As we also figured out that if you want to stop her, it's not going well. At least that's all of the questions I have. I'm not sure, Ronald, if you have any other questions. And Alice would definitely try to figure out how does the sergeant look. Dottie, she knows, not feeling well. That is not surprised, but she would be really curious. How does Ronald
the
look?
sergeant has been very quiet.
Yeah, I recognized, but Alice is a bit worried about him. So
He
so
looks
she would
kind
be
of
like,
pale, but he seems to be doing okay. I mean, it's, it's difficult. He's a bit inscrutable. I mean, you can see that he's not his normal self, but then again, probably not since the incident. But, he's just basically taking it all in, but you don't know how he's feeling, other than he's very quiet and quite pale.
I think, at least for now, let's just enjoy the lovely dessert. Thank you so much, Dottie, my dear, and just talk about lighter things.
Yes, absolutely. I really appreciate your invitation. This has been most interesting. If you ever find out what kind of brujeria is at work here, I would be interested to know which entity we're dealing with, because this is very special. You don't find that every day.
We will see if we ever find out.
Also, what are your plans of confronting this evil? I mean, how are you going to deal with that entity? Do you have any? I mean, have you ever done this before? I assume not.
I definitely haven't, and honestly, at the moment, I have no idea. I'm still curious about burning the one item from the store and see what happens, just to be curious.
This is just an offer. If you ever find out what the entity is, and if you let me know, I can try and find out if I've heard of it, or if anyone I know has heard of it, and if we know what to do about it. It
I
might be
will
something that is not uncommon.
I will gladly take that offer because, yeah, as you can imagine, we are a bit lost and it's hard to find like just literature in the public library on this.
Yes, the public library isn't the place where this kind of information is stored unless you go to the romance novel section.
Yeah, and that's then hard to figure out what is real and what is just made up insanity or fun insanity, however it's written. We will figure something out. I know at least there shouldn't be anyone in that house in the next days. Maybe weeks if we're good. At least no one who should be in there. Still, if someone from the street just thinks they want to break in, they will have to deal with whatever is in there. We can't help that. But the
I mean,
house is locked.
this may be some consolation to you. The house being empty will mean that the essence will find it really difficult to recover its power. It will recoup it over time, but it's faster if it can scare people.
Okay, so it's not too bad that no one has been in there for a while. Days, not
No.
weeks or years.
And also, it would have been, if, as you say, there was possession, it would be weakened now.
Which would also mean we should speed up before it recovers.
Yes, a weakened essence is always easier to deal with. And of course, but I mean, this goes without saying, don't let anyone get killed in there, because that's going to be a big boost.
It just got a quite freshly kill. Well, not fresh, but not too long ago, so that was probably the reason why it was able to possess and do all the things it did.
Oh dear. You really, I mean, is this your first essence that you're encountering?
I'm quite sure, yes. You always hear weird stories about old houses where there's supposedly a poltergeist, but it's all stories. You never take that seriously because there is no evidence.
Well, I have to say, for somebody who's never experienced any essence encounters before, you've really struck gold, as some of my colleagues would say, because you are experiencing the whole thing, the whole plethora. The only thing that's missing is, well, I suppose you haven't dreamt of suicide recently, have you?
No.
That's a good thing. Should you think of suicide, think of something else immediately, and maybe give me a call.
We will. And otherwise we had a few days to have it let sink in and, well, it's hard to process this. I try to see it as a story in a book, makes it easier to deal with. I know we've seen it, but still. It's trying to get some logic into this thing that shouldn't be logical at all, based on everything we learned so far.
I mean, the one thing I will tell you is it is not illogical, it's just very unbelievable. Because there is logic to everything that you've told me, and there is logic to everything that I've told you. There is a woman who is sick. There is somebody who comes in and tells them, I can take away all of this pain. Maybe without telling her that there is a price. Making it all happen. I mean, possibly there was blood sacrifice even back then. I don't know. Maybe somebody got killed in the house and we just don't know it. You know.
Maybe it has been quite a while ago. We don't know.
So, you know, maybe somebody got killed. Maybe somebody, you know, sometimes people just go missing and then, you know, that's weird. And then...
Well, yes, it might be blood sacrifice. There were rumors
You're
about
taking this
people
very
missing.
well, Miss Baker. Lots of people would already have basically run out of the door screaming or thrown me out and said that I was a total crazy person.
The problem is, it will not make it go away if I do that.
No, it
I
won't.
would love.
I keep telling people this, but you know.
I would love to, if just saying this has never happened, this is all insane, it's like a fever dream, and just it will not go away. And I feel horrible knowing about this and just letting new people move into that house, getting killed again. And new people will move into that house, be killed again.
And it would go on for a long, long time even after you're dead.
Well, then at least, hopefully, I don't have to live with it, but we can't let this happen. I'm really feeling worried for the spirits stuck there.
Yes, it's not fun for them. But if this is any consolation, when they are released, they are gone, and as far as we know, they don't remember anything. They just really vanish.
That would be nice, because they didn't do anything wrong. They were just in the way, or at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Indeed. But then she looks at her watch and says, "Oh, is that the time?" And you realize it's 12:30. I really should be going now. May I ask that you call me a cab?
Yes, sure. Dottie dear, will you just call a cab? And
Dottie calls a cab, and a cab comes and picks up
and
Sinead.
basically, while we wait for the cab, because it will take at least a few minutes to be there, Alice would also offer a bit of alcohol, might have brandy. She has whiskey there. She would just
thank
let
you,
them
but
choose.
I had a glass of wine, which is more than I usually take. It's
Then
you know, a lot of people don't realize that alcohol lowers your inhibitions and makes you a lot more prone to being possessed by essences. I try to steer away from it because it's not good in my job. I want to control them rather than they control me.
understood. Alice is torn between she needs a drink and she doesn't want to drink anymore.
She looks at you and she says, "I know exactly what you're thinking. Please go ahead and have some. It's you. You are fine. It's me. I shouldn't."
And we shouldn't if we get close to that house, because it will definitely make
Yes,
life easier for that
sobriety
thing.
in the face of essences and spirits is
Understood.
a very good thing.
Why didn't she possess? Never. Ignore my thoughts. Just yeah. But Ronald, maybe you want something. You look like you could.
Ronald
use a
definitely wants something, and he stretches
Whiskey
out
or
his hand and he
brandy?
says, "Yes, I'd love some."
Let's stick with brandy. We already drank some. That's a bit more, and she would fill in a bit of brandy, and she would fill 3 glasses and would put one in front of Dottie.
Dottie takes the glass and she's
Really, just like
it,
a sip. It's not much for
Yeah.
her, but at least a little bit.
and she drinks it, but kind of really slowly. I mean, even the sip that's in there, she's making it last. Because the last time she had an encounter with alcohol, that didn't go so well.
No, but here at least I
Yeah.
can limit
And then the
how much
cab
she drinks.
arrives, and Sinead takes her leave, and she says bye to you, and says, well, and I hope that all goes well for you. And if you need anything, if you need any help, then you can always ring me.
Before she leaves, Alice would hand her her coat and her hat, and Alice would try to get a rough idea on the size of the hat, or basically the size of the head.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So basically,
Because she will want to look for a hat to send
Yeah.
it as thank you
yeah.
for
So
the help
basically,
and the information.
she is very good at how she does it. She takes her hair and she basically curls it up into almost like a snake-like.
Yeah.
Well, into a snake really. She puts it on top of her head. She puts the hat on the head, and you can see exactly what kind of hat size she takes, and you know that you can talk to your milliner, and she will just make a really
Or
beautiful.
maybe I can even read the hat size
Yeah, you
within
can.
the head
It's
brim.
not a problem. You
Okay.
know what you're doing, so yes, you can, and you know
That
exactly
will
because
be a to-do.
the hat is just ugly. It fits. It's just terrible.
And
Yeah.
she said even herself she doesn't really like
Yeah,
it, so
no,
she
she doesn't.
deserves a really pretty hat that goes with a lot. So that will be a task for tomorrow, not today. It's too late. And yeah.
And then Ronald is also taking his leave, and he is, but he actually drove himself, so he is driving himself, and
He drank. That is not a good scenario, but I know in those days the people didn't care that
who
much.
cares? Drink and drive, it's fine.
Before he leaves, Alice would just ask him if you let this sink in, and if you ever have dreams about suicide, please talk to me or to her. We can give you the contact, whatever you feel more comfortable with.
Yes, I will. I mean, this is an evening to remember.
And the other thing is the question, if you have the time to snoop around tomorrow or the day after, it might be interesting to get some information on the nurse.
Yes, that's on my list. I didn't
That would
realize she
be
was
lovely.
important, but yes, I think I completely agree with you. We need to find out more about this lady.
Then we will do, well, Dottie and I, or rather me, will do the testing of burning a thing, because I'm really curious how this will go, and we will just stay in contact if we learn something new.
Very well. And he takes his leave.
A good evening. Then Alice probably will go back and even help Dottie to clean everything up, even as Dottie will probably be like, no, no, no. Alice will still help to bring over the plates, and because she needs to do something. This is not the time after the speak to just go to bed and sleep happily.
Yeah, indeed. The two of you do this, and we conclude the evening, and then we take a short break because I need to feed this cat.
Do
and then we'll come back
that.
with the next day, and we will see what happens when you try to burn nice mahogany bowls that are made to be placed as a centerpiece and fruit.
Let's be curious.
Okay, so 5 minutes.
Perfect.
And here we are back. So it's the next morning.
Yep.
You wake up in time, or basically you and Dottie ensure that you're ready to go to be there for 10 o'clock because you wanted to go past Cesar's to bring back the one coat that you are not buying and also pay for the one that you did buy.
Yep. Exactly.
And then you arrive at the Liz's antique store, and Liz is of course in the shop. It is quite a big shop in a very good location, and it's got really nice windows, so shop windows, so there is a lot of stuff in there that's really exquisite and really nice, and you know, and you look at it and you kind of see that she has something for every price range that is imaginable. So she has, like, you know, nice stuff that is also old, but that's not rare, which is why it's not expensive. But, you know, if you want to say, well, this is an antique, you can, although you didn't, you know, pay too much for it either. And she's currently talking to a customer, a gentleman who is looking to buy his mother-in-law a vase. And that looks like it may take a little longer because he knows nothing about vases, he knows nothing about decorations, and she's basically showing him different things, and and now she's at the stage of, does your mother-in-law like doilies? Yes or no? So she's got this checklist.
Alice will
And
just
and
walk
then
through
she's
this.
now talking about color of tables and stuff, and then she basically after a while says, you want to go with this one, you will not be you will not be dissatisfied with this one, you can't go wrong with this one, get this one.
Alice
And
would have probably listened to it curiously with a little smirk and would politely would have looked around. Really not looking for anything, but hey.
well, I mean, you're browsing.
Yeah, just to have a look if there is something, although the something she wants will be somewhere else probably, but we will see. And well, she would just compliment the nice vase he picked. After he said, yes, okay, I will take that, she would be like, this is a really, really pretty vase. It's a wise choice. Just to make him feel better.
Okay, yes, you do make him feel better. Okay, so the gentleman leaves, and she turns to you and she says, you must be Miss Baker. I recognize the cane you're carrying.
Yes, it's still beautiful and really, really helpful. Thank you for putting aside what I wanted to buy.
Yes, indeed. And she turns around and she walks away, and she comes back with a fruit bowl
Yep.
about this size, made of mahogany wood, and she says, "This one is especially beautiful.
Alice,
Only $20."
oh, I honestly would pay whatever it's. I
Okay,
shouldn't
now-
say that to you. It will be more expensive now.
Yeah, and now we come to the place where you roll power
Okay.
with a penalty die.
Oh God. Power with penalty. Oh wait, penalty. Let's take that one. I don't like the penalty die. The initial roll was a 46. That would have been nice. The next roll she did is a 76, which is definitely a not made it thing. And also, I'm not sure if I could even use luck on that, but I don't have enough luck to do that. So,
What is your POW?
55.
Oh God, Dottie's is 85. Oh my.
I am very intelligent. I had a very high dex.
Way back when.
I am quite tall, and my constitution is not too bad. But hey, power is not her thing.
Okay, in that case,
What happens?
okay, unfortunately the essence's power is better than yours, and she passes her test. You are unable to buy this thing.
Which means basically, without me thinking, I would look at it and would be like, nah, that's not worth the money.
You are unable to purchase this item. However, your mind is working its way to tell you logically why you came in here, because you do remember that you came in here to do exactly that. You can't. It is impossible for you to accept this item from this woman. Even if she were to gift it to you, this you don't want this thing. It's not going to touch your hand. You're not going to take it anywhere. It has to stay here because it just has to stay here.
Okay. The question is, I also wanted to get the mirror.
Roll.
Would I get a next roll for that?
Go ahead. Try and
So
get the mirror.
Alice would be just like, okay, this thing, now that I see it, that no way this will enter my house. I'm really, really, really sorry.
She looks at you and she kind of goes,
She already expected that, probably.
well, you're not the first person to say this. I myself think it's rather beautiful, but for some reason people don't want to buy it. But it's fine. It's fine, Miss Baker. It's not that I didn't expect it. Over there is your mirror. I've wrapped it like you asked.
Okay, and how much would that be? Just
Oh,
curious.
the mirror is, well, unfortunately you can't see it. It's got a gilded frame, and I mean really gilded. It's made with gold plate. So yes, it's $230.
That shouldn't be an issue. So Alice would step towards the mirror, and she would like to... The question is, if I just pick it up without buying it, although I'm picking it up with the wish I want to buy it and pay for it, so don't forget it. So, but she would basically, in the usual way, would pick it up and would honestly tell Dottie to give the money, although I am buying it technically, and Dottie is just handing out the payment. So
Well,
another
try.
POW with disadvantage basically again.
Yes, with disadvantage.
Yes, it did it. It's, well, the first roll was a 19, that would have been nice, the better one. The other one is a 49, which makes it at least a success.
Okay.
Which is better than the other attempt.
Pick up the mirror. Dottie hands over the money. Liz is looking at you as if you had just sprouted extra arms. What do you do?
I will hold the mirror up, basically, and just drop it.
Okay. You make another willpower roll, a POW roll, but this time without a penalty die.
Let's see. A 50. That's a success.
So you passed.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Okay, so
And
here's
probably
what
I would
happened.
not only drop it, I would try to give it like a little bit of momentum.
Okay, so here's what happens. You feel something is reaching out to you.
Great.
And it reaches into your chest, and it's like somebody's grabbing your heart and squeezing it as if there was no tomorrow.
Okay.
Please lose 1d4 sanity.
That's a 1.
Okay, very good.
Thank goodness.
And now you also lose 1d4 con.
Con. That is another one. I
Okay,
like
good.
that.
However, you have made up your mind. You are pissed off.
Oh.
This has
blimey.
been going on way too long. This thing made you into somebody who now needs to use a cane to walk. It's messed with you. It's messed with the sergeant. But worst of all, it's messed with Dottie.
With Dottie.
And you throw down the mirror and it explodes into a million shards.
I hope it's at least the shards are a bit stuck because it's wrapped.
Nobody's in danger.
That
Just,
is-
yeah, they are contained because she wrapped it
Yeah.
really tightly, so you can, it's. I mean, they do fall to the ground. It's not like
It's fine, but they're not.
But
Yeah.
Liz is standing there going, "That looked like you meant to do it."
Not to be mean, but
Well, it's yours. I don't care. I've got 230 dollars. You know, I don't mind.
That was the main idea, that you get the money and then it's basically mine. I'm just sorry I made a mess here, but I did not feel like I wanted to carry this mirror any millimeter more than the way I put it up. And in thought she would be like, that is the second mirror I crashed. I can do more if you want to. Not sure if it's even hearing, listening, she doesn't care, but that would be just like her inner monologue, just like, you think I'm messing with the wrong one.
Okay, so essentially, you have destroyed the one mirror that she has in her possession that comes from the house. She looks at you and she says, Ms. Williams intimated that you might want to look at the piano as well.
I would, and I promise I will not smash it. It's not
Well,
mine.
to be quite honest, it's been around here since 1881, and I'm unable to sell it. I'm also unable to move it.
81, you said?
Well, since my grandfather bought the estate of the Wheeler house.
Because the Wheeler...
Spooner house, sorry.
Yeah, but basically when the Wheeler died. Let's have a look. I will just lean the rest of the mirror just quickly here. I don't think it will be hurtful to anyone anymore except with the shards, but we will figure it out.
I feel that, of course, I mean, first of all, physically it's a lot lighter because the glass is broken. But to you it's just a frame. It's just wood. It's nothing. It's... you could, I mean, yeah. You could just break this. You could just take this home and burn it in your fireplace. This is just wood. It's dead. It's dead wood.
Okay. Then let's have a peek at the piano.
Okay, she leads you into a room. I mean, now you realize that this is actually a huge house.
Mm-hmm.
It does look nice from the outside, but it's only one story. But it's one of those houses that actually seem to stretch on forever. It is a lot longer than it is high. And it's essentially, now you realize what you're inside of. You're inside a warehouse where they just basically made two nice windows and a lovely door into it, a glass door. But this is a huge warehouse. And as you basically leave what is arguably the showiest of the showrooms, you enter into, it gets less and less classy and more like things being stacked on shelves. And then you reach the part that is actually like a warehouse where you have shelves that are as tall as the building is high, and where you have stuff stacked on shelves. And she says, back there is a little room where I keep stuff that needs to be repaired. And she takes you in there and she switches on a light switch. So it's basically, there is no natural light in this small room. And she says, it's back there. And she points towards the very end of the room. And you can see that there is a grand piano standing there.
She would just step forward to it, probably motion Dottie to stay back.
You can see Dottie kind of like teetering and kind of like, and then she follows you. She just lost her power roll. She's not gonna let you walk in there on her own, on your own.
And she would, I would guess the piano's probably like covered with a sheet, or is it? Yeah, she would just pull
but you can still clearly see it's a piano because it looks like one. Yeah.
She would just carefully pick up the sheet, just like, and put it over that you can see the keys, basically. Nothing, just that's the main part.
You see the keys?
And she would just like ping one of the keys and see if there's a sound coming out and b anything else happening.
It's definitely out of tune.
Well, with how old it is, not surprising.
Yeah. So you just, so that one key does seem to work. It's out of tune, but yes, you do hear a sound.
She would try to do a little easy melody because I'm quite sure, at least as a child, she had piano
You
lessons, and at least
definitely
she
had
can do
piano
like the
lessons.
simple things.
Yeah.
So she would try. She's obviously, at least for her ears, she is embracing herself for it sounding horribly wrong because it's out of tune. But she would be like, "Let's see what happens."
Yes, you do that, and as you play on the keys and you play a melody, which does come out really badly, but it's not your playing. It's just that it's completely out of tune. You do get to a passage where your fingers hit keys, and it's like it's stuck somehow, and you definitely don't hear the little hammers touching the strings. So it's like either there are no hammers, which you don't think because the keys also don't press down the whole way. So something's keeping the hammer from actually making contact. That's what you assume. And it's several keys next to each other, about 3 or 4.
She would just be curious and would pull the cover down completely, just rolling it up, putting it aside,
Yes?
taking a deep breath, and she would open the lid because usually you can just put the lid up, usually for
Yeah.
better sound, but then you
Yes.
can look inside, and she's just curious if, best case, if mouse is sitting there and stopping things, which would be nice for Alice, although mouse are a bit scary, but hey.
Okay.
So she would open the lid.
And you
She
look
would
inside.
have given the walking stick to Dottie to hold on to it,
Holding the name.
and would look inside.
You look inside. It's rather dark.
Not surprising.
It's so dark you can't see. Do you put your hand in?
No. She would close the lid again. She's learned lessons. She's not trusting anything. She would just turn around. Would you have like a lantern or anything that we could shine a light in? I would
Sure,
just
absolutely, not a
like to
problem.
see which condition it is because it doesn't seem to properly play tunes.
Absolutely. Just let me get a flashlight, and she comes
Thank you
back
very
with
much.
a torch.
Then she would usually should be able to put it up with one hand, and her hands are fine, it's just her leg. So she would put it up and she would use the torch to shine into the piano to have a look.
You look inside, and lo and behold, there is something stuck in the piano.
How does something look? Size-wise, coloring?
Well, it's not really big because obviously it's only covering 3 or 4 keys, so you know how wide can it be? You would say it's brownish and square. Well, kind of rectangular, shall we say.
Okay. So it's not like a dead animal.
Oh no, it's not animal-like at all. It looks
Okay.
more like a book. Like a notebook or a notepad or something like that. Very small though.
Dottie dear, would you mind just put the cane aside for a second, the walking stick, and just could you hold the torch so I can see?
She does that.
And Alice would just point in the direction where the thing is stuck, and she would then really lean in and try to pull it
Yeah.
out.
You see a little notebook.
Trying to grab it.
You do that. You pull it out. It comes free.
That is good. Then she would close the lid again. Probably a quite relieved exhale of air. She was holding her breath while she was leaning in because she was like, "Oh, what happens if something pulls me inside?" She would grab her. No, she would. probably look at the front and the back. Is there anything written outside or on the side of the notebook?
No, it's actually it's really more like a kind of like maybe it. Okay, what are the languages that you speak?
She can do mainly English, and she has a tiny, tiny bit of knowledge on French and Latin, again, because she had to learn it, but she doesn't really speak it fluently, but there are like at least a general understanding of the language and the phrases like "Good day, my name
Okay,
is, I want
very
a
good. In
coffee."
this case, just roll and we check if you hit any of your languages, including your own.
Okay. Well, I rolled a 39, which is not enough for Latin and French.
But it
Because,
should be enough for your own language.
but definitely easy enough. For my own language, it's even a hard
Okay,
success.
well, you do, I mean, it does say kind of like in very small print on it, diario. And you can kind of guess between
Okay.
Latin, French,
Yeah,
and English diary
It's
that this is
diary.
a diary.
Okay. And it sounds with diario, her initial idea would be Italian, Spanish, something in this
Yes,
direction.
indeed.
So with all the history we have on all of this, Italian is obviously the main idea what this could be. Let's just to be curious. How much do you want for this? Not the piano, to be honest, because I don't have space for a piano. Although honestly, no, I don't want the piano, but I would be curious to have this. Urgently. Not curious, I want this.
It's not an antique, you can have it.
Perfect. Then the only thing I would love to have, if you could keep your eyes and ears open on maybe another pretty cane, where the handle has like a flask inside. It's not urgently, and it needs to be pretty, and I know you have a good taste, but if you could keep eyes and ears open and
I
give us a
will.
call, that would be just
I will make inquiries.
lovely. And Alice would put down the notebook on something that is around and would put the cover back on the piano, and then would grab the notebook.
Okay. Okay, so you take the notebook and what do you do then? Do you go home or
I would ask Liz if she could, or one of her, because I'm quite sure she has at least 1 or 2 employees to carry around stuff if needed, I could imagine. Usually if you have a warehouse in the back there would be at least someone helping. If they could get rid of the mirror.
Yeah, that's not a problem. You get somebody
And she would give obviously a bit of money for that, just because it's an inconvenience, it's extra work. And then she would grab the notebook, put it in her handbag, because you said it's not that big, so it should fit in a handbag.
Yeah.
She's not really looking into that thing.
Yes.
And then she would basically go back home. Together with Dottie, obviously.
Okay, you go home and what do you do there?
Asking Dottie if she could make coffee.
Dottie makes coffee.
And then I would sit down in the salon at a table and would put down the notebook and would open it and at least just go through the pages to see if it's like handwritten, which I suspect.
It is. It's handwritten. It's actually quite crammed, but the reading is legible. It's just somebody had a lot to say.
And from reading it, it has the feel of it could be Italian, I guess, with
Absolutely.
the background. Okay.
I mean, a big giveaway is the word negro. because that is something that you know from Latin as well. And of course, English at the time, Negro would be a word that, you know, would have been used at the time. And so negro, of course, means black.
She would shift through to see if there were like drawings, pictures, or anything in there, because that is not language specific. She would just be curious if there were any like signs, drawings, or pictures. Or a name. Especially the one specific name, which is... Let me get back to the page. Adele.
Indeed, it does. Her name does come up. It's on the inside of the frontispiece. So obviously, this
seems
book.
to be
I mean,
hers.
usually where you sign your name, this is Adele Di Vitello.
Okay.
Has signed her name. Yeah. It's Italian, or you're pretty sure it is. And it is not something that you can read like that and make any sense of. You see a word here or there.
Yeah.
But, you know...
any drawings, pictures,
No.
signs, nothing unusual to stick out.
But you come across a page which looks like, you know how you can sometimes tell by the way a text looks what it might be, like when you have a list, then, you know, and maybe numbers and then followed by words. This could be a shopping list, 5 eggs, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
What you see here looks like a poem because it's got indentation, and when you look at the words, you don't speak Italian, but you do have an idea of what it sounds like. I'm pretty sure you've been to an opera.
Yeah.
And a lot of operas are in Italian. You do know that Italian sounds quite different from English in that letters actually correspond to one sound mainly and only, and if it ends in an E, it's an E and not once an E and once an I. It seems like whatever is written there might even rhyme. So this is maybe love poetry or something, but this is different from the rest of the book, which is really looks like prose. And here somebody wrote a poem or a song or something.
Okay. Dottie, do you know anyone that can speak Italian that we can trust?
She smiles at you and she says, about 30 people at church are Italian?
Strong-minded? Very Catholic?
Yes. They are all very Catholic, yes. I mean, some of them have been widowed for the last 15 years and still wear black.
I'm
And
just
go to
worried
Mass every day, twice on a Sunday.
if someone reads this and something is in there that is bad. I don't want them to freak out, and I honestly don't even want them to give the feedback, but we need a translation for this.
Oh, you mean it's that kind of stuff? It's
It might be.
Sinead stuff.
Maybe. I'm not sure. It says diary, and I know it's hers. It definitely says here, see, Adele
Then
Di
maybe you're
Vitello.
looking for a younger one. Somebody who's kind of like more open-minded. If it's one of the old crones, she might just take this as the
Yeah.
devil's work and burn it in front of your eyes.
Yeah, or give you trouble because you ask her for such an Maybe we should just ask an official neutral translation service.
Oh, we could always do that.
I think we should, because they should stay neutral. With enough money, they should be quick.
Yes, we could do that.
The only thing, to make it more expensive for them, I need the translation to be done here. The notebook is not leaving the house.
I'm pretty sure we can... I mean, isn't it possible to even hire translators to sit in on conversations?
Yeah, that's true.
So I
That's true.
think that should not be a problem if we tell them that we want them to come to the house to translate a antique book which we cannot let out of the house. I think that would make sense.
It's just very dear to. No, I'm not sure if I want to say it's dear to us because I don't know what's in there. But
Let's just say it's an antique.
yeah, it's antique and
How about you inherited it and you need to understand what it says in order to make a decision if you want to sell it or not?
I think that's a good thing. And I could imagine Matthew maybe knowing people. Working as lawyer, he has worked with translators. For sure.
Of course, and if they are, if they work for the law, they certainly must have some kind of non-disclosure agreement.
Let's give him a call. I'm quite sure, looking at the time, it's probably around, not even maybe noon, probably maybe.
Well, it's probably around 12 o'clock, but yeah,
Yeah.
you can definitely you reach him in his
in his,
yeah.
I would say office. No, it's like, how is it called in English? New words I have to look up because I don't use them. But yeah, she would ask basically a secretary.
Yeah,
if he could.
you ring a secretary, she puts you through. He's like, Alice, I haven't seen you in a long while. You missed a really good funeral.
I am so sorry I had to let you down, but honestly, being
Well, you
stuck in
didn't
the
let me down. As far as Dottie tells me, you got shot at and you nearly died. I mean, she actually says you were practically dead.
I don't remember, to be honest, because I was out, but
Maybe that's better.
yeah, maybe that also gives a lot of sense why Dottie is even more worried about me. Giving an eye to Dottie, just like, okay.
Dottie is looking at you and completely ignoring this hint.
Well, but just to let you know, I am safe and sound back at home, in one piece, without a wheelchair. So, not 100% fine or back to normal, I would say. I'm fine, but not back to normal. I definitely have to use a cane, at least for a longer while. But
Well, Alice,
the rest,
that's going to look majorly weird when you and I go dancing next. But hey, I'm up for it if you are.
I am definitely up for it to try it because you are a good lead and I have one very good leg and one okayish leg, so I'm quite sure we will manage anyhow. But before we,
And even if there is a problem, who cares?
as
Who
long
the
as we have
hell
fun,
cares? As long as we're
I
having
don't.
fun.
It will definitely be something we
So
have
are
to
you
do.
calling to call me for a date or why are you calling me?
That would be the nice bonus on top, but I have a, well, business thing sounds wrong, but I need a translator to Italian. Oh no, from Italian to English, obviously. And I would need like a professional that is willing to sign like a, I will not tell anything about what is written in that book I have to translate, and I would need them to translate the stuff here in my house.
I don't think that this
Price.
is an issue. We use translators all the time. I mean, we have so many people who made
Would
their will in the old country and then it needs to be translated and God knows what's inside that will. And of course, nobody's allowed to know what's in the will except me, the executor, and of course, the person who
did
wrote the will in the first place. So we deal with all kinds of languages,
could
Italian,
you just
Spanish,
give
Russian.
me the contact for a good company or someone good to just
That's not a
contact on
problem.
that?
I will
That would
get
be
my
very
secretary
lovely.
to pick out the one of the ones that we are working with the most. Um, and I mean, yes, they will come. I mean, they come to my office. There's no reason why they wouldn't come to your place, but you
That
will have to
is,
pay for that, of course. And
yeah,
they will
that is
ask you to pay
obvious.
for a cab.
I'm totally fine. They will get everything. We will also make sure they're well fed and they have enough to drink. So that shouldn't be a problem either. And yeah, then I would say maybe, I think since I just got home, I would keep it more quiet. I know it doesn't sound like me, but I have a certain lady looking at me. When I tell her I would go dancing tonight, she would probably just lock me inside of my bedroom, not letting me out. So maybe end of next week. So next weekend, not this weekend, but next weekend, maybe going out for
You've
dance.
got a date? You've got a date, Alice.
Awesome. We will
I
get in
will think,
touch on
I mean,
time
just
and
think of
place.
which club you want to go to and let me know and I will come and pick you up.
Perfect. Then we will see
Excellent.
each
So I'll see you
other.
then. And Jane is going to let you know the details of of a translator that she deals with and that she's happy with. And you know, because I leave all of this to her because, you know, details. She
That's
just knows how to deal with people. I don't. So I like my books. So she's going to get you a very good translator from Italian into English, and she will ring you back post haste.
You are the best. Have a wonderful, extremely successful day. Don't do anything I wouldn't do, and we will see each other next weekend.
I'll see you next week. And
Bye.
basically, he hangs up, and 5 minutes later, you get a phone call from Jane, and Jane gives you the name and address of a lady who is a translator from Italian into English, and you know, contact details and stuff, and you can make contact with her whenever.
That would be immediately. I would thank Jane very kindly and wish her a good day, and that's it. She would have nice ideas to what to do to Matthew, but she will be like, no, I will pay for that afterwards. And then she would dial directly the number of the translator.
Yeah, so her name is Laura Biagiotti, and yes, I know that this is a name that sounds somehow familiar, and it's probably a perfume.
I think it is.
Yeah.
We'll take
and basically Laura answers the phone, and she says, Biagiotti?
Baker. A friend of mine from, she would tell basically the lawyer name of the company, because he's not on his own. I would guess it's like a group of lawyers together. And
yes, it's probably an association, yeah.
he told me you would be a very fine translator for me, because I got a diary like inherited, but it's in Italian, and I honestly don't speak a single word of Italian except ciao, bella. I think that's the only Italian I know, because that is what the guys in Italian restaurants always say.
It will take you quite far if you talk to the right people.
That might be. I only know that the guys in the Italian restaurants usually love to say that. But I would need a translation quite urgently, and it would also need to happen in my house, because I'm not really willing to part with it, because I'm a bit worried that something could just, you know, accidents happen, not by evil things. So I would be
That is
curious.
very understandable. I am used to working outside of the home. I work in courthouses as well as other offices.
Well, you would have a really nice place, and I would obviously come up for all the costs for traveling here. We would make sure you have food and drink, whatever you need, and paying definitely.
Yes, Ms. Baker.
Whatever you need.
I could, and she's basically leafing through something. I could do. How much text is there?
Alice would roughly estimate how much pages it would be.
Well, it's about 30 pages.
About 30 pages in a small notebook, but a quite squiggly small writing. So it will
30
probably
pages.
take a bit more than.
I could make a start tomorrow afternoon, but I'm not sure if I could finish. I would finish then the day
I'm quite
after
sure it
tomorrow.
will take more than a day to go through. It
Or
looks like a lot.
I could give you all of Wednesday, so today's Monday. So I could either come by tomorrow afternoon and make a start on it,
If you
and then
could
finish
start-
on Wednesday.
If you could start tomorrow, it's nice. That would be
I
really
have
nice.
I have an appointment which I will be able to finish at 1, half an hour lunch. I could be there for 2:15.
That's perfect. We will be at home. I will give her the address. I will, as we will exchange like how much on hour or page or whatever, and we'll get through that. And just come by whenever you feel like it. We will be home, and because I know I will get the question asked, is there anything special you would like for food, for snack, for drink?
Water would be fine, and maybe if you have coffee, but this is America. I don't even
Definitely.
expect it.
We have coffee, believe me, and at least I think it's good. We will see what you say.
Well, then I will have coffee and maybe a sandwich.
That will be no
will not
problem
go
at all.
amiss. And
Of
I will
one.
write this down, and if you give me your address, the address where I need to be, then I will be there tomorrow at 2:15.
Alice will give the address and will wish Laura a nice rest of the day. We'll be very thankful for her taking that job so quickly and would hang up.
Okay, so basically tomorrow you have a date with Laura Biagiotti. I always want to say this, and she will start translating the diario. And I think we will wrap it up here. But do you want to do anything kind of like special between now and tomorrow, 2:15?
I think the only thing she would do, probably for the afternoon, just to also do something lightheaded that has nothing to do with this case. Well, kind of. She would ask Dottie if she's up for shopping a beautiful hat for our dear seventh daughter of the seventh daughter.
And of course, Dottie is completely up for going shopping for Sinead and buy her a new hat. And she really thinks that this is a great thought that you're having, because the hat was like a ruin of a hat and it was terribly ugly.
It was. She needs a nice one. So I think the rest of the day, the two ladies would be hat hunting to find a nice one that would also fit all the hair in there, but would also be combinable with a lot of outfits. So it needs
And
to be
stylish.
not too weird. It must fit a lot. And that would be the main goal, what they would do during the day. Although I think before they would leave, she would call the sergeant just quickly.
Yes, Updike.
Baker again.
Oh, hello, Miss Baker. What can I do for you today?
It's slowly getting a habit that I will call daily, I think. But I just wanted to let you know, burning the thing did not work. I couldn't. It was awful. There was no way on earth I would buy that. But I bought the mirror
You
and
didn't want
smashed
to
it.
buy it. You wanted to buy it and... Oh, never mind. Oh, you smashed the mirror.
Yeah, I basically bought it and dropped it. And before I dropped it, it felt like something tried to pull something out of me. It was really weird, but nevertheless, I'm fine. It was just a weird feeling, and the mirror is broken, and now it's just a bit of wood with some shards. The only interesting thing, I also looked at a piano that was in definitely possession of the Wheelers, because it was bought in the year where Mrs. Wheeler died. We found a notebook in there, a diary.
A diary?
Italian. From...
In Italian now, isn't that interesting?
It's definitely the one of Adele Di Vitello. Her name is at the front page. I have a translator coming in tomorrow and start translating it for us. And it's a professional. She will keep it between us, what she finds.
Oh, I see. That's interesting.
So I will keep you in the loop on whatever we find. Just to let you know.
That's very kind of you.
I know you're interested as well. Maybe it's just a stupid, silly diary, we don't know, to be honest.
But I mean, you said you found it in the piano.
Yeah, it was stuck between...
To be quite honest, if somebody puts something in the piano, it's usually not because it's silly and stupid, but because they're trying to hide something that's important.
Well, a diary is important to a lot of people, and the content
That
are
is
for
true, of
others
course, you're
quite
right.
not important,
Especially
so...
women. I'm sorry, that just slipped out.
Thank goodness he's far away from her at the moment. No. Yeah, so I'm quite sure it will not be translated completely tomorrow. It's like 30 pages. It's quite a bit, but at least tomorrow we should have an idea what is in there. And until when are you in the office? Then I will give you a quick call tomorrow late in the afternoon.
I'm on late, so I'm in
Okay.
Until 10.
Oh, the translator will not stay long. Then I will call you when the translator leaves, and we'll give you an update on what we have so far.
That's very good. That's very good,
all.
Miss Baker.
All I have. The rest is have a nice rest of the day.
And you too.
then we will hear each other tomorrow again.
We will hear each other tomorrow again.
And she will hang up, and then the shopping spree begins.
And the shopping spree begins, and you find a lovely, beautiful hat, which you can describe next time, so that you have time to think about what you would buy for a redhead. And with this, we will end today's session. I hope you enjoyed it as a player,
really
and that it wasn't
enjoyed
too boring, because not much was happening. But I thought after last time's terrible.
But we got so much
Action
good information. And horrible information, to be honest, but really good and helpful information. So I enjoyed every second. Thank you so much for running this.
No worries, and we hope you enjoyed it too. And don't forget, you can catch us on Patreon, and you can get this as a podcast. And until we meet again...
Click and subscribe if you want to learn more about this.
And click the bell and everything, and leave us a comment. If you enjoyed this, we are looking forward to hearing from you. Bye!